What is good, everybody? Welcome back to the Games Done Quick channel, where we do a whole load of speedrunning stuff and speedrun adjacent stuff. My name is Hypnotics, and I am part of the wonderful Hotfix team that get to bring you various little shows with varying themes of maybe different games to show you, maybe from different platforms, various different shows. And this is Going Places. This is the show where we have a look at handheld games, so games that we can take on the go, traveling wherever we feel so inclined. So that could be on something like this, or something like a DS perhaps. And the other part of this show theme is games that we could find on our travels, games that are exclusive to particular regions. So a few treats that we might not have seen. And speaking of those, if you missed out on SGDQ 2023 or our recent Juneteenth celebration, let me tell you, that was some good fun. You can find all of the VODs for those on our youtube.com/gamesdonequick. And I'll do a little bit of promo for this. In fact, a couple of runs that we had on this particular hotfix did make it onto the main stage. One of them being Suzuki Bakuhatsu, which is a region-locked game, as it were, for the PlayStation, which is definitely worth checking out when you've got time. But we've got some gaming to come today, and it is not Suzuki Bakuhatsu, but I tell you what, it is some fast-paced action. We're not defusing bombs, we are racing cars with some whimsical fictional characters. We are being joined by Brandino with some Diddy Kong Racing DS. Brandino, what is up?
Hey, what's up, man? Good morning. I'm really happy to be here and to be showing off this game. For those unfamiliar, Diddy Kong Racing DS is a remake of the N64 game of the same name. Features a lot of changes, but also a lot of similarities, and this will be the first ever major showcase for the game in any capacity. There hasn't been a lot of footage of this game over the years, as it's exceedingly hard to record DS games without spending a whole bunch of money. But I am really excited to be bringing this to you today, and my co-commentator, Leah, is the Diddy Kong Racing 64 and DS GOAT. So take it away, Leah, if you want to for a second.
Hello, I'm Leah. I have been playing Diddy Kong Racing DS since 2019, and it was actually the first speedrun I ever did, this category, any percent. So I'm very excited to have it shown off to you all today.
Awesome. Let's go. Wow. You both of you sound passionate about it, and we are ready to feel that passion as well as you. So whenever you're ready.
Yeah, the run starts when I tap adventure here, so I'm going to count us down, 3, 2, 1, and then we can go. All right. 3, 2, 1, gaming.
Good luck.
So the game actually, it makes us pick our character first, and for those familiar with the N64 run, everybody knows TT is the guy. But did you know that TT is not the guy in this version? The guy in this version is actually two guys. We have Taj, the elephant, and Whizpig, who's that big guy who just tripped. We use Whizpig and Taj because they have identical stats, but their car is the absolute fastest of any of the characters, even faster than TT. TT has better handling than them both in terms of plane and hover, but their car is just, like, miles ahead. And this game also added a fun little cutscene at the beginning to show all of our characters meeting up and getting ready to go to Timbers Island, because the plot of this game is that Whizpig fashions himself the greatest racer on the island and, like, takes it over with his cronies or something, and you gotta go stop him. Also, this game, this is a Rareware game made by the company Rare in 2007. They were bought by Microsoft in the early 2000s. Initially, they were a Nintendo second-party company. So what makes this interesting is that this game was made while they were under Microsoft. So I think what's interesting about that too is that the original N64 game featured both Banjo from Banjo-Kazooie and Conker from Conker's Bad Fur Day in their, like, earliest incarnations. But they're actually not in this version. Even though it's a Rareware game, this game only utilizes some pre-existing Nintendo characters, so they have been replaced with Tiny and Dixie Kong respectively. And there's our original opening cutscene for Diddy Kong Racing, but we're going to go ahead and soft reset the DS to skip that. Which, by the way, you can soft reset a DS. I don't know if people know that, but if you hold LR, start, and select, it'll reset the DS for you to the game, not the menu.
Yeah, the opening cutscene is made up of 2 cutscenes, and we can skip the second one. We'll also be skipping another cutscene later down the line.
OMG,
Yep.
Knuckles, hi.
It's Knuckles. Okay, so this is our friend Taj. He does a number of things for us, including sells us vehicle upgrades and helps us keep our settings. Lives in a lamp that we got to rub with the touchscreen. You'll notice something in the overworld is that the game pivots to the bottom screen so that you can do a lot of touchscreen related functions. We gotta hurry up and select our thing. And now Taj wants to do a practice race. So you guys are gonna see the car mechanics firsthand here. There is a start boost that you can do in this particular race, but it's like a couple frames before the race starts. It's really hard to time. There's no cue for it.
Alright, so we've got
Here you can see we are power sliding. This is the ultimate car tech. Leah, you want to explain that a little bit?
Yeah, when we power slide in car, we first have to set up our angle by holding A and then holding R with the opposite direction. And then after that, after we've got our angle, we want to hold B, and this is the final piece of the puzzle that makes us go much faster than normal. We actually almost drive at about the same speed as when you would touch a boost. So it's very powerful, and we'll be using it a lot throughout the car tracks run.
And here we are, heading into the first hub world of the game, Dino Domain. N64 runners will know Dino Domain very well because it's a huge reset point. We're going to be heading into our first level here, Ancient Lake. What's funny about the DS version is that all the races move to the top screen, but you'll see on the bottom screen that we have to do a start boost by revving a wheel with the touch screen. Yes, it does hurt my hands after a severe amount of times doing it, and it makes time trials on DS just incredible when you have to do this interactive start boost every time you reset.
So during these first 3 races, we're going to be collecting a lot of coins. Now, coins are what we'll be using to buy some upgrades later down the line from Taj, and we need to get 25 in these first few races. So that's Ancient Lake, Fossil Canyon, and then Jungle Falls that we need to get 25 coins from.
Whoops, hit a tree. Happens. So, veterans of N64 will remember that this game had bananas on the track that you used to collect, and you would collect 10 bananas to max out your acceleration at a cap of 10. But in this game, instead of that, like Leah mentioned, we're getting vehicle upgrades instead. So this game, whoop, okay, we got the key, thank God. We need that key, that's a surprise tool that'll help us later. So they replace a lot of the bananas with coins, but the coins don't speed you up like in the race, but you spend them to buy permanent upgrades for the car, or any vehicle really. And you can utilize those to make the car go real fast.
So yeah.
And here's a cutscene that again, veterans of N64 will remember. In N64, you can actually skip these Taj cutscenes by doing a frame-perfect pause after winning the race, on like the first frame that you cross the finish line, and you can exit out of the race and not have to watch this cutscene. DS, unfortunately, is not as fancy. We don't get that, so we just have to watch it the first time. All other times, we can skip it with the start button or just by tapping on the bottom screen, but we gotta watch it the first time. And there's that key that we just collected opening a funny door. I'm sure we'll see that door again soon. But first, we have Fossil Canyon, which is one of the goofier dino tracks, in my opinion.
Yeah, Fossil Canyon is definitely a very strange track to get used to. It's got a lot of weird terrain for such an early track. It's probably the hardest second level ever in a video game, especially on N64.
Oh, another funny thing about Fossil Canyon as a track is that the Seat would love just dump obstacles all over the track. So you'll notice we've been collecting balloons, and I'll explain that a little bit for those that are unfamiliar. There are a couple different colored balloons that you can collect that each respond to like a different action in-game. So green balloons will let you drop oil slicks, or mines, or bubbles, because you can collect 3 of every balloon and they stack to perform bigger actions each time. So you'll notice now, yeah, we just stacked an oil slick into a mine. But the thing is that a change in this game made from N64 is that on N64, if you had, say, a green balloon and you ran into a red balloon, the red balloon would overwrite the green balloon, and you would instead of having whatever green balloon you'd have the first red item. But in this game, they actually don't overwrite each other, which is both a blessing and a curse. So it means that your boost balloons, because the blue balloons are boost balloons. Those are the most important to the speedrun. It means that your blue balloons cannot be overwritten, but at the same time, if you pick up an oil slick, you have to dump it somewhere. And quite frankly, dumping it is very dangerous because you kind of have to hope that either the computers run into it or you go out of your way to place it in a place where you're not going to hit it. Either way, you're risking a lot of time loss. And we just hit an oil slick because Tip Top is a funny guy.
Yeah, this is the typical Fossil Canyon experience. Oil slicks everywhere and so many places where you can get shot.
The CPUs are absolute snipers sometimes, and they hold grudges.
Personally,
there's that
Timber
Taj
has
cutscene. You'll get used to that, trust me.
Yeah.
And now here we have our third
of the
Dino Domain tracks, Jungle Falls. Again, veterans of N64 will notice this track is a different song. The one thing about DKR64 is that Dino Domain excluded, every world features... Well, okay, so Dino Domain included here, but every world features 4 racetracks. And Dino Domain excluded, all 3 of the 4 racetracks have a unique song, and then one song is split between 2 of the tracks. Now that's on N64. In DS, they made it so that every track has its own unique music, and so that they remixed and added a new song for every world. But what's interesting is that Dino Domain already had 4 unique music tracks, and they still replaced one of them. I like the song, but I did love the old Jungle Falls track, I'm not gonna lie. It's one of my favorite songs in the game, and unfortunately we just never get to hear it in DS.
Yeah, changing the Jungle Falls music was definitely one of the more controversial changes, but if you like the N64 version of Jungle Falls, don't worry, you'll get to hear it again a lot later down the line.
Oh no! So Tiny Kong activated a shield like when I was a second away from her, which made me spin out. It's unfortunate, but the CPUs are huge bullies. One benefit of this game versus something like Mario Kart is that there is 0 rubber banding, so you can get far, far ahead of the race, and stuff like that will not affect you. Alright, well, those racetracks were fun, but we need to go do some overworld stuff now. Which is probably going to have people who know the 64 version scratching their heads. Like, what are you going to be doing right now? A lot. So first, we have another challenge from our friend Taj, this time in plane. In DS, they lowered the requirements to make the plane challenge appear, so it appears pretty quickly after we get a first couple balloons. One thing about Taj and Wizpig is that although they are fast, their handling is extremely poor, especially in plane. It almost feels like there's delay on their movements because they just fight you so hard in plane handling.
Yeah, as this is our first introduction to plane movement, we can get into how the characters compare in plane, and essentially Wizpig, Taj, and TT all have the same top speed in plane, as well as the extra character drumstick, but out of them, TT has by far the best handling, so he's what we use for both individual level runs in plane, and also RTA categories that use only plane, like all plane tracks.
And hover as well, I believe, right?
Yeah, TT is also the most well-rounded character in hover. However, Wizpig and Taj, they aren't that far behind him. They are a slight bit worse than TT, but they can definitely compare.
You guys will notice that the island is slightly different here. This whole tunnel did not lead out to the little cliff, and the race has been altered because of it. So what's kind of cool is that the Taj races are a little more unique in DS because they all take different paths. And in N64, the hover race and the plane race follow the same exact path. And one thing I want to say too is that although this is a pretty simple race, it can go catastrophically wrong if you make a bad turn. Because if you go too far outside of the zone of these tokens, Taj will just cancel the race on you and you have to start it all over again. And that doesn't really happen that often, but this turn right here out of this tunnel, it's happened a number of times if you have too much mustard on the vehicle coming out of the tunnel.
I personally don't have too much mustard on my vehicles, but, you know, you do you.
Yeah, exactly. All right, now we've got some really, really funny touchscreen stuff. So, you'll notice that we have 5 golden balloons if you check the map screen. Those golden balloons are the main collectible of the game, and they are ways to mark our progression. The original N64 version had a bunch of balloons, had 4 balloons hidden around the island. This game changes that to 2 balloons hidden around the island. This is one of them, and I'm using the touchscreen to slide this ice block. It's incredible controls. So this is one of them. We need to push this ice block into the river, and it will slowly melt over time. So while it melts, we have something else that we need to go do and grab another balloon. We're also going to be grinding for coins. Oh, I need to press the B button to get out of that cutscene. I almost forgot.
So right
There's this movement is a little awkward here, but there's an invisible ceiling over this part, and it makes it really difficult to maneuver. And another thing in plane you'll notice is that if you bonk on a wall, you lose like all your speed and drop instantly. So it can be really difficult to maneuver some of these overworld sections in plane because there's a lot of really tight corners and a lot of stuff that you can bonk into.
Yeah.
So now we're gonna flex our artist muscles a little bit. We need to go do some drawing.
So in this section, we're going to be drawing some coin shapes, and essentially we need to get a lot of coins from this, and the weird thing is that they run on a multiplier, so we'll see how many coins we get from this.
Ooh, that's a lot.
Oh, that's really lucky. We actually got 30
yes,
coins.
this is entirely RNG, the amount of coins that you get out of drawing a circle on the peak. We need to walk out of here with more than 75.
Yeah,
also, that's definitely a circle I just drew. Thanks, game.
So normally you get 10 coins from this, but you can get up to 20, 30, and I've actually seen 50 once.
This is the best RNG I've ever had out of this. Having 80 on the second pass. Oh, that's... How did that other circle count, but this one doesn't? What?
Yeah, as it turns out, one of the hardest things about this game is having to draw a circle.
You need to connect all these little dots here. See, why was that more of a circle than any of the other ones? Make it make sense. All right, 117 coins on 3 passes is just absolutely beautiful. That's 4 coins than we needed.
Yeah, you can have some very weird non-circle shaped things that still count.
Now I need to draw this. Now I need to draw a balloon. Look, it's harder than it looks with like the pressure of the run on, and you're trying to draw this shape on like. The DS touchscreen is also less responsive than something like the 3DS touchscreen, so there's a lot of issues with it. I should point out that we are playing this on an original DS today, like the original big models that they would release. All right, now we need to go do some shopping. We want to avoid bonking in the Taj here, or else we'll start the next challenge. We want him to do that after we do our shopping.
So we're going to be buying the basic upgrade for each vehicle here. And a bit later, after we finish down into the main, we're going to be coming back here to buy the second upgrade for car, which will make car much faster. And the main reason for that is that car is the most used vehicle in the run. So having that extra speed across so many different tracks, there's actually about 50 to 55 minutes of car gameplay throughout the whole run, is going to make a huge difference.
Yeah, it's actually such a big deal, especially because we're going to be picking up the car upgrade right before Snowflake Mountain, which is an extremely car-heavy area. All right, so we just upgraded the car a little bit, so now we're definitely way faster. And now Taj wants us to do a hover challenge, so we get to talk about hover now. The third vehicle of the game, and I would assume just about every casual player's least favorite.
Yeah, hover is very unwieldy and hard to get used to when you're a casual player, but honestly, when you learn how to speedrun, both in the DS version and on Nintendo 64, hover is honestly the most fun vehicle. A lot of people will say that.
I would agree, yeah, and that might sound like crazy coming to the ears of people that have played N64, because I know so many people who play this game hate hover, but it is extremely technical, extremely difficult to understand, but if you put the work in, it is so much fun.
It is extremely rewarding to put the work in. The main thing we're going to be seeing here is that he's doing a lot of hops, he's jumping around a lot, and he's doing this because when you want to make turns in hover, if you turn while you're in contact with the ground or a liquid, you kind of swerve all over the place, and it's not really helpful or beneficial for making turns. Do a hop.
I couldn't tell if that was deliberate or not. I thought, wow, this game's just really, it's some very jumpy waters at the moment, but interesting that's a strategy.
It's really cool. It actually maintains speed from boosts as well. So whenever we hit a zipper and hover, we actually want to do a hop before we re-grab the accelerator, because you can maintain a little more of that boost speed for longer in the air. Hover is quite technical for how simple it might look. You'll also notice that, like, I'm kind of moving in a diagonal direction, not straight forward, because hover just has this tendency to kind of move that way. You don't move straight forward, your speed kind of gets redirected kind of out to the left or right. Really weird.
Yeah,
and you'll notice there's going to be times in hover where I'm jumping and then trying to turn as much as possible to avoid bonking on walls. But in hover, at least, bonking is like the least consequential, because hover is a very elastic collision vehicle. You know, like, you hit a wall and you'll bounce right off and you really won't lose a lot of your speed. Can't really say that for car or plane. That's what makes hover very unique.
Yeah, in some cases in the Nintendo 64 version, bonking into a wall in hover is actually faster if you do it intentionally. Not the same for the DS version, but you can kind of see the similarity.
Alright, well, back to the levels. We've got one more left in Dino Domain here to start. It's going to be our first plane race of the game, not counting Taj's plane challenge. And it's a pretty fun track, all things considered, but it's very easy to bonk on walls here. This track has some goofy collision like that.
Ooh, very goofy.
And this track has a decent number of coins, but so many of them are so out of the way of our route that we just don't grab a lot of them. That's why it's so important to grab as many coins as we can in the first 3 levels.
Yeah, we got very lucky with getting 30 coins from drawing circles, so...
I can't overstate how good our coin RNG just was. Like, normally I have to draw 5 circles on the beach and get as many coins as I can from that. We drew 3 and got more than I've ever gotten. So that was awesome. That's really good RNG.
Yeah, we almost don't need to worry about coins at all for the rest of Dino Domain now, and pretty much the rest of the run.
Yeah, the big RNG inflection with coins is right at the beginning because of the coins on the beach. They can really affect the way the run goes, because if you don't have enough money to buy the car upgrade going into Snowflake, like, not only are you going to lose time from not having the money, but like losing the upgrade is like bleeding time from every level that uses car after that. It's a lot to miss. So one thing I want to bring up too is that this game shares tech with N64 in that if I let go of the accelerator while hitting these zippers, which are these glowing red and yellow things on the track, I actually go way faster than if I was holding the accelerator. And you want to re-grab the accelerator at a specific point in their animation when there's smoke starting to come out the back after the boost. It's really specific, but like once you get used to it, you can maximize your speed from zippers and you can go way faster. But this does not apply to blue balloons. Interestingly enough. And now we've got our first boss race. N64, this race is a nightmare because there is a skip for it that is a literal 50-50 chance. But in DS, we can't skip him because you can't drive on walls as easily, and they fixed the checkpoint issue. So we just kind of swerve our way up this mountain. You can do some power slides up, but this mountain is awkwardly shaped and makes it really hard to maintain your power sliding angle while still like wrapping around the mountain. So we're just going to be driving straight forward and trying to grab as many blue balloons as we can to go fast here.
Yeah, it's not only the shape of the mountain, it's also the fact that the mountain is entirely sloped after a certain point, and that really messes with car. Like, car
and slopes don't mix.
Yeah.
On N64, it's really funny though. This race is busted. So there's a point where the checkpoint for the ending overlaps with the checkpoint for the beginning, and there's a spot behind the starting line where if you drive behind it and then drive away, there's on every frame of the game, it's going between 2 separate checkpoints, and one of those checkpoints, if you can get it, will allow you to skip the race. Oh, almost forgot. We want to go to the Wish race next. So, our friend TT does show up in this run, but we're only racing him instead. TT wants us to build tracks. Beautiful. Look at that artwork we just made.
Wow. What a track.
So this replaces battle courses from N64. And N64 Oh, blue balloon right at the beginning. That's awesome. So the balloons are randomized on the track every time. So you might get a ton of blues or you might get nothing.
Like that.
It's very, very iffy. But we just got, 2 blue balloons on the track already is great RNG.
Oh, wow.
Also, these tracks have awesome music. This whole game is awesome music. Even with the DS crunch, we still get a lot of the beauty of the N64 soundtrack coming out, and there's a ton of great original tracks in this game.
Yeah, I've got to say, like, the original tracks from this game are just some of my favorite. They're so good.
Yeah, they go real hard. Honestly, it's great. You'll notice that despite TT being one of the fastest racers in the game, we might lap him in this race. We're just that much faster than TT. Also, his AI during these custom tracks is like laughably bad. He will drive off ledges constantly. If you watch the bottom screen, you'll see it happen at least once. TT apparently does not know how to drive.
Poor guy.
I mean, he did his best. It's really, I think it's really cool though that he's not like the dominant character in this game, because we get a way wider berth of characters. Like the fact that Taj and Wizpig are identical characters that you can use in a run is really fun. And then when you get into time trials, it's like sometimes there's like one specific character that's fast for one specific track. Like
Oh, he fell off.
Oh,
Sorry,
he
I
did.
just saw it.
Yep. I'm
go.
surprised I haven't fallen off, given how I've been gunning it around these corners. It's really easy to fall off these tracks, given that it's like Rainbow Road style, no guardrails. Yeah, TT completing his second lap as we're almost done with the third. He's certainly a driver. And you'll notice that sometimes he also likes to leave obstacles all over the track, and some of the obstacles that we placed are still there. That's what I was talking about like when you grab items like the mine or something, like it'd be really difficult to find a place to drop them that won't interfere with your race. All right, well, the Wish race is done, and now we get to what probably will be the biggest surprise to anybody who's never played the DS version. We're going to transition to the bottom screen, tap some balloons. So, in N64, in order to race the boss again in a hub world, you have to complete a coin challenge where you collect coins and then have to win a race. Instead of the coin challenge in this game, they gave us this beautiful, beautiful balloon touch challenge where you need to pop a certain number of balloons in a one-lap auto-scroller of the race. You can also collect coins during this too. Usually it's about like 10 coins or so. So, these sections are very weird. Because this is any percent, we actually only need to do bronze on these, so we don't need to worry too much. You'll notice that it's really hard to 100% beat. Like, this game is made for babies, and yet it's like impossible to pop all the balloons and grab all the coins without a serious amount of running through these.
Yeah, in the nicest way possible, this looks horrible to try and complete.
Yes, I can't even. I'm so glad. The 100% category this game has to gold star all of those, and I would never want to.
And that's only the first one. I imagine they don't get any easier.
No, and they don't get any easier, and sometimes like on short, this game has some really short tracks, like tracks that don't even last a minute during the race. And on those short tracks, they just absolutely fill it with balloons and give you like 0 time to react. Not to mention, we're popping all these balloons with the touchscreen, and we're moving the camera with the touchscreen. So sometimes when I'm trying to pop a balloon, I move the camera. And they really wanted you to be like John Wick here. Like, you're supposed to be like popping every balloon in an instant.
Mm-hmm.
It's nuts. I'm getting some made for babies, man. Like, what is this? Although I did have this game growing up on my DS, and I do remember struggling intensely with getting out of each hub world. Like, it took forever. I don't remember these balloon challenges, but the races were like impossible to win as a child because it was really hard to understand the game's core mechanics. And then I don't remember these balloon touch challenges, but I guarantee you they gatekept me.
Yeah, if there's anything good about these balloon touch challenges, it at least gives you a lot of downtime later in the run. You have a lot of time to sit back and relax for a bit.
Yeah, I'm not holding the DS real hard and trying to race here, so it's very nice for hand rest.
That's cool.
But it's just like extremely silly. I don't know what they were thinking. I guess they were trying to prevent you, because like with the coin challenges and a trophy race in this world, you end up having in 64 to run every track about 3 times. So I guess the thinking was like eliminate the amount of times you're racing on the same track and try to do something different with it. But I don't know if this was it, Chief.
Well, Brando, you know, I feel like I've got to, excuse the pun, address the elephant in the room. From the moment that we transitioned to your screen, your gameplay, your webcam, people have been asking about the drip that you have got on today.
DKR64.com. Well,
yeah.
let me tell a little bit about that. So I've been a part of the Diddy Kong Racing community since about 2020. It was one of the first speed games that I really put a lot of effort and time into. And it was the first speed game that made me love ILing, which for those who don't know is an individual level speed run, or essentially time trials for this game. It's just getting your fastest time on a single track. And DKR64.com, what I'm repping here, is our time trial website for Nintendo 64. And Leah here is the #1 time trialer on that website because it tracks points based on the amount of world records and other ratings that you have against the other people on the website. And Leah is #1. Not only is she #1 for that game, she's #1 for DS as well. So we're talking to the dual champ here. But if you like this drip, you could always go over to DKR64.com yourself, submit some time trials, and grab a shirt. So shout out to DKR64.com. It's run by one guy who's very passionate about the time trials. And I want to say too, one of my favorite things about the Diddy Kong Racing community, every Sunday, without fail, we have a member of the community who will post the newest developments and time trials that happened that week in a little news blog. Always it has a funny and relevant title, and we have a player of the week that we always give to somebody who's putting a lot of effort in that week or did something incredible that week. And we'll have players of the month. They go really hard on this to celebrate the players and the runs that they are getting. So I think it's one of my favorite aspects of the Diddy Kong Racing community. I just want to shout that out. The time trialers are so cool. They're such cool people. Everybody's really appreciative of each other, and despite the rivalries, everybody's always happy to see somebody else improve.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's again, my favorite part of it is the fact that we get a little news blurb every Sunday with who's doing what and what happened this week in time trials, and they'll list, even if you submitted 7 last place time trials that week, they will mention your name and write something about you saying oh, and player XYZ submitted all their times this week. Shout outs to them. They go out of their way to honor everyone. It's truly
awesome.
an awesome community.
Yeah, I can say it's it's probably the best community I've ever been in. It's so supportive and so motivating.
Yeah, and it's really cool too that the 64 community has always at least held a space for the DS community in its Discord. For the years that I've been there, even when we've only had 1 to 2 DS runners at a time, they still reserve that space and let us talk amongst ourselves and do everything. So it's really cool. I don't think that happens a lot, with a lot of sometimes when a game is remade so far after its initial one that they share communities like that. But it's awesome. And I being that I ran a lot of 64, when I picked up the DS, I had the intentions of trying to be dual champ, but then Leia moved over to N64, and those aspirations were over because she has destroyed the time trials. Every day I see a video, and I'm like, whoop, there's another world record. I think she has 51 right now.
50, but yeah.
He has broken some of the oldest time trials in the game as well, too. I think that's what's cool about the time trial community is that they also keep track of how old the records are, and how long certain ones have stood. And right now we're really low on records that have stood for more than 3 years, I believe. They're getting destroyed.
Yeah, one of the cool things about N64 time trials is that you never know what's going to happen next. It's such a volatile game, I want to say, in that you can just never know what's going to happen. You could just get a world record and completely not expect it. And I think the oldest records currently are from 2019, which is, in the grand scheme of things, compared to other big games, it's not that old.
So, here we are back in Ancient Lake. This time around, we really don't need to collect as many coins, because we are just bursting with coins, to be honest with you. We have plenty to make what we need to go into Snowflake Mountain next.
It's from all those really good circles that you drew. Oh,
yes. This game does reward you. I remember watching a runner speedrun this game once, and like laughing because they got time save on a split by drawing an oval better than their last run. And it's like, these are the speed skills you need to succeed here in Diddy Kong Racing DS.
Let's go.
Oh, I just got the best boost chain. So, or not TT, Taj and Wizpig's car can off-road decently well, but you still need a good bit of boost to like not have to worry about your car slowing down in an off-road position. So here we're going to do a chain of zip into boost into boost. Oh, another thing I want to point out. Yes, you can stack blue balloon boosts, but in any scenario, it will be faster to chain 2 blue balloons together at a single level boost than it is to get 2 blue balloons and use a second level boost. The second level boost only carries you slightly further than the first level boost, but if you can chain a first level into another first level, you go much farther. Same goes for N64.
Yeah, the important thing about boost conservation in this game is that you really want to space out all of your boosts as much as possible. So zippers and blue balloons, since they don't stack, this boost speed doesn't stack, you want to essentially have the most time spent possible in a boost. So you're going as fast as possible. So that's why it's
this
important.
Power slide around the corner here is really fun, but it's really difficult because one of the more challenging parts of power sliding is getting into the air. It can be really hard to readjust your angle once it's in the air. Like you just saw me slam into the goal. It's because like there's a part where you hop over a little cliff there, and actually like holding the wrong angle even slightly in the air while drifting can make your car just turn around completely when he lands. So you have to be really careful. Ooh, I didn't think the zippers are really weird. Sometimes you hit them and you're like, how did that hit? And other times you miss them and you're like, where's the hitbox? Oh my god, 2 incredible oil slick saves right there. And since we're on lap 3, I can finally dump my oil slick because I won't need to worry about running into it next lap because we're almost done with the race. That's like I said, that's one of the major challenges of items in this game, is that like you kind of have to really strategically get rid of your item that you grab, especially if you grab a mine. Those are really the most difficult items to deal with. Because at certain levels where you need a blue balloon, like you have to dump it before you get the blue balloon, but what if there's just nowhere you can do it that isn't exceedingly out of the way? It's hard.
Yeah, the only other way to get rid of an item is to press the Y button, but the problem with that is that you're holding the accelerator for most of the game. So you have to really awkwardly curl your index finger around to press Y, and you can only really do that during a boost.
Yeah, that doesn't sound nice.
I can't overstate how just terrible it is to do start boosts by sitting there revving a wheel on the bottom screen. Like, I don't know if you can hear the clickety-clackety sound of me rubbing against the screen there, but it's loud on my end. We haven't gotten into it yet, but this game also does use the microphone. This game honestly loves the DS integration that it has. They go out of their way to put the DS first and foremost. One of the only games I can think of that surpasses this game in terms of like complete DS integration is The Legend of Zelda Phantom Hourglass, because that game literally has the section where you have to close the DS in order to proceed. And this game almost the same in that you don't have to close the DS, but they just loved every part of the DS and they made sure that you had to use it at least once. Oh, another interesting thing, like we mentioned about the boosts where you let go of the A button on a zipper, they actually have a they have a auditory distinct sound effect that plays when you let go of the A button versus when you don't. So it's almost like it's intended in a way. Because it's like, why does it have a specific sound effect for letting go of the accelerator over a boost unless they meant for you to do that?
It's definitely a much satisfying sound effect too. Like, you really feel like, yeah, I'm going a lot faster now.
Yeah. Here we are. Oh my god! They stole my balloon! On free balloon day!
All my balloons gone.
They stole a balloon on free balloon day. I can't believe it.
This is so sad.
This track is so much fun. Honestly, playing is great in this version. Even though it's less technical than an N64, like, and there's like less overall, like, really hard execution stuff that makes playing really cool, there's still a lot of satisfying plane movement you can pull off. Also, plane is the only vehicle that has several out of bounds associated with it. I believe, and Leah, correct me if I'm wrong, the Hot Top Volcano does have an out of bounds, but it's TAS only currently in DS, whereas in N64, it's like one of the most basic tricks in the game.
Yeah, it is. It is TAS only, unfortunately, and it also doesn't really save that much time either. Like, the TAS will only save about a second or so with it. I will get to other out of bounds, like, as we get to them, but, like, in general, we won't really be seeing any out of bounds in this run, but that's because the out of bounds don't save a huge amount of time, and there also aren't that many tracks we can do them with. Because
and they're really difficult and punishing because, like, Everfrost Peak Plane has an out of bounds, and we're going to be in Everfrost Peak Plane during this run. But there's a catch there that in order to do the out of bounds, you have to stop, slow down, and do this thing where you readjust your plane's angle so that you're flying into the ground, and then you ram into a wall and you go through it. And it's really punishing because if you miss it, you just stopped and slowed down in the middle of the race.
Oh.
It's definitely...
And it only saves about 5 seconds, so that, like, stopping to slow down and missing it literally could be the clincher between you making the skip versus you losing a ton of time.
Yeah, it's definitely very different to the N64 versions out of bounds, where you usually literally just do a barrel roll in a specific place and you're out, boom. But no, this game has very complicated out of bounds setups, and they take quite a while to learn, as well as actually learning how to drive while out of bounds, learning how to hit those checkpoints optimally.
Yeah, that's the other thing about out of bounds is that not only are you, like, you need to masterfully move the plane into the clip spot, but you also, once you're out of bounds, then have to make really good lines with the plane while you can't see any of the track. You kind of have to look at the bottom screen and use that to line yourself up for a good out of bounds. And here we are back in the tent because we are going to get the fastest bodywork in car. And you might think, why am I not tapping the screen? Wouldn't it be faster? It's actually, like, the screen taps in the menus. There's, like, a slight delay before the screen actually taps a button, so it's easier just to use the buttons to select things in that menu. All right, so we got our car upgrade. Now we need Taj to give us a plane.
Hello, friend.
Change the vehicle. See, I'm tapping the screen here, and there's, like, a slight delay between when you tap the screen versus when it's actually available to tap. So you lose a little bit of time tapping the screen for menu options. And here we go. We're heading into our second world already. Snowflake Mountain. This is some of the most banger tunes in the game. So everybody enjoy. Dance along, please.
Let's go.
Starting out with a lot of people's probably favorite music track from Snowflake Mountain, which is Frosty Village. A lot of people will remember this one, especially from N64.
This is a great track. It's a hard track, but it's really fun. Also, DS has some exclusive tech we get to do in one part of it, so I'll get to show you that as well. Rareware loved Christmas levels in their games, let me just say. So this is the DS exclusive route here. This is actually on N64, that counts as like off-roading, and it's impossible to get the car to move fast enough to do that double zipper there. But on DS, it doesn't count as off-road, and we're moving so fast as Taj and Wizpig that those boost chains are really beneficial to our speed, so we can do them. That's a cool little bit of DS-only tech. You can do a really cool power slide down that hill, but like I said, getting airborne while power sliding is a death sentence usually, so I don't go for it.
Yeah, going power sliding down that hill, you have to not only have a good line going into it, you also need to deal with a lot of the car in air stuff, which we've already mentioned is very problematic. Like, you have to... There is a part where you will unavoidably be in the air for a solid second and a half, and you have to just know how to... You have to know how to land and not have your drift be completely reversed in the wrong way.
Yeah, it's actually quite hard. Like, yeah, car getting... And what's funny is in N64, car getting airborne is honestly a pretty desirable trait when you can get it, because the car just zooms through the air when possible. Oh my god. How did I miss that? I've had some clutch oil slick saves right now, let me just say. Also, that drift was dangerously close to going into the water. Nice. That was a good Frosty.
So, some water is fine for you to go through, but some of it isn't, because I noticed that one of the earlier levels you took like a little boost over
the water. Yes, that was in Fossil Canyon. What's interesting about that one in particular is that the boost on the hill lets you through that water, so it's really not an issue. But most water is extremely detrimental to the car. Like, you lose every bit of speed that you had, and it's like, it takes forever to get out. One of the upcoming levels you'll see that in, called Walrus Cove. It's going to be the last level in this like set of levels. But this is Snowball Valley. This is one of those really short tracks I was talking about, because we're about to get a 20-second lap.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's some of the tracks in this game are extremely short, but they're, even for their shortness, they're like extremely complicated, because this is one of the more complicated and tech-heavy levels. Not to mention, this is the level that has the key for our TT race this area, and it is next to the beach level called Sherbet Island. This is the second worst key in the game, because it's in this little alcove. Kind of have to get it on lap 3, or going into lap 3 rather, because if you don't, the CPUs can catch up to you, and because this is such a short track, if they get far enough ahead, you will lose, even though you're faster than all of them. So it's very dangerous. That's why I make sure to have boost balloons there as a backup in case I lose speed. Oh, and there, I just did a bad drift. If you press the brake button way too close to trying to find your drift angle, the car just kind of zoom off to the side, and you mess up all your speed. That's what just happened in that last tunnel.
Can we get that again? How would you describe it as?
It was like a zoom. You know what I mean?
Zoom.
Zoom. Makes sense, you know?
Yeah.
All right, now,
Totally.
This track is awesome. Oh, wait, is this Wallace Cove or Everfrost Peak? Can't remember. Okay, cool, Everfrost Peak. Yes, this track is awesome. I put a lot of time into figuring out a blue balloon route for this, and there are some really awesome boost chains we're going to be doing here. And Leah mentioned it earlier, but we're going to be strategically using our blue balloons so that we expend all of the speed and momentum from zippers before we use the blue balloon. Because if you interrupt the zipper boost with a blue balloon, you're actually going to move slower, because the zipper carries you much further with its speed before it drops it. And yeah, this level is just constant boost chains. A fun fact about this level in N64 is that because of the way that like letting go of the accelerator makes you faster, in N64, in the plain version of this level, the best players can get through it without pressing the A button once. They do it for their start boost and then not again, because there's a million ways to chain your speed and keep it going without holding the accelerator in N64 that are way faster than actually accelerating.
Wow.
Also, this is a great Everfrost Peak so far. Let's see if you can carry it into a third lap here. 31 and then a 32 lap are very good. My best lap was a 29 coming out of the first lap. But this level is more challenging because like some of these like wall hugging I'm doing and stuff, like, again, WizPig's handling in plane is poor. And I don't know how it comes through in the thing, but like I said, it almost feels like there's delay on his turning because of how much his plane doesn't want to move. You're really locked into your boosts when you're using WizPig. 136? Just about. That was really good.
Yeah, 136 is really solid to get on EP, Everfrost Peak.
And next, we have, when we were talking about water earlier, this is the level that came to mind because this level has the worst water. There's a section at the end of this level where falling into the water is just so easy to do and loses you so much time. Welcome to Walrus Cove, home of the long loop. Sonic would be jealous at how slow that loop goes.
Yeah, this may very well be the hardest track in Snowflake Mountain. It's got a lot of very weird terrain to move through, and especially this ending section coming up where we have a split path. You can go on either path, and it's just about as fast as the other one. But this water here, if you fall into it, you've got a car in water. It's not going to go well. It was actually much worse on the N64 version, because in the N64 version, that water was bouncy ice instead. If you touched it, you just come to a dead stop and you get bounced back onto the track. It's very deadly.
That turn is one of the hardest right there, because if you do it just right, you can drift straight into that zipper, but you have to be turning really sharp, and bumping a wall while you're drifting is kind of annoying, because you will just start veering in a direction that you didn't want to go in. Also, I messed up the drift there, so I'm not going to go for it, but you'll see we actually do two little island hops there, And normally I actually drift through both of those, even though I said that drifting in midair is hard. Right there, it's not too bad, but it's still difficult.
Yeah, drifting in air is mostly bad if you have like a lot of air time, because that's when your speed in car starts to decay. And that's also when you start to lose control. If you have like a tiny bump of air time during a drift, it's not the worst thing ever.
Also, I love the song in this level. It uses parts of Santa... what is it? I think it uses parts of Santa Claus's... Not Santa Claus's town. Here Comes Santa Claus. It has it like integrated into the song in a few parts. Really fun. Rareware loved Christmas levels. Shout out to Freezeezy Peak and Banjo-Kazooie, one of the Christmasest of the Christmas levels I've ever seen. All right. That is our first 4 tracks in Snowflake done. And honestly, I think they go by way faster than the Dino ones do. And so we've got our next boss here. Bluey, oh my god. Actually, the boss is getting into the door. Right, this is Bluey, and we get to see the hover start boost here for the first time. Okay.
No way.
No way indeed. That's how we start the hovercraft. Thank God, there are only 5 total hover tracks technically in a 100% run. 6 if you count the hover challenge. There's Bluey, you have to race him twice. Then there are 3, or I guess, sorry, I was wrong. There are 7, because Bluey you race twice, another boss you race and hover. Then there are 3 hover-only tracks, 2 in Sherbert Island and 1 in the Dragon Forest. So it is the least used vehicle in the run, but it's also the most technical and has the most that can go wrong with it. So isn't that awesome?
Well, we'll thankfully get the most use in time trials out of any vehicle. So
oh yeah, almost forgot to mention, hover is used in literally every track in the game, but we only use it 3 times in the run because that's in like time trials only, that you can do certain levels with different vehicles than their defaults.
Yeah, I didn't really mention it, but we've got this entire track that's essentially a very big downhill, and while we were going down it, we were doing a lot of hops, because hopping while going downhill and hover massively builds up your speed, and you can pretty much destroy the boss without even trying.
Now, despite our speed, there is going to be a boss later that gives us a lot of trouble. Another beautiful track. Now it's art. Once again, we got our friend T. Take a look at the map. You will definitely see him drive off this one at least once. Oh my god, Blue Balloon right at the beginning again. Let's go.
Oh,
for those who weren't there for the last Wish race, the balloon configurations on this track are 6,000,000% random. So you just kind of get what you get. We have a hunch that the balloons may be seated by where you Oh, I should mention too, not just the balloons are random, but the entirety of the track layout, like these little hills and bumps, all of this is completely random.
Yeah,
you just get a completely randomized track layout every time. We have a hunch that where you put the finish line, also I fell off the track there, but the respawn is so fast you barely notice it. We have a theory that where you place the finish line has something to do with how the track works, but we can't prove it. It's just a theory, a game theory.
There was no need, Brandy.
There was no need. Oh my god!
Oh, we missed it!
Like, an oil slick appears. I was so confused. The oil slick and then a mine and then... Oh, I just got caught on the track there. These are such beautifully designed tracks. This is all meant to... For those who don't know, this whole thing is meant to advertise the fact that this game has a track builder option, which is essentially just this. You draw like shapes in a thing and you can like slightly edit it. But for a track builder, it's kind of bare bones. I guess it's pretty cool that it has one at all. But yeah, they look like such generic sky-based tracks, and it's just like a circle in the sky. Usually it's very strange. Oh, something that's kind of fun here. If you look down at like the world below us, it'll always match whatever world we're in, so you can actually see all the snowflake tracks down there outlined from above. And that's true for any of these Wish races. Like, you'll be able to see whatever area we're in. It's like we're kind of like, oh no! Ooh. Oh, there's a funny thing I forgot to mention. If you, this game added these little character portrait things, so if you like run into somebody else's item, their character portrait appears on your screen laughing at you. But if you hit somebody else with an item, then your character will laugh at somebody else, and then they'll appear on your screen like crying. Like, why would you do this?
You can get live reactions. That's incredible.
One of my favorite little things from a time trial I've recorded is that for some reason the game kind of glitched out and Taj just kept laughing at one of the racers for like 2 seconds straight. I don't know why it happened, but it was really funny. And after all that breakneck racing, I think we need to slow down and pop some balloons. It was a little too fast for me.
Balloons, my love.
My favorite part of the game, balloons.
Yeah, this is the point where the balloon touch challenge has become a lot more of like a downtime thing, and you don't have to worry about getting as many coins. Because we do still have a coin requirement. We have to get 100 coins by the end of the world after this. But we don't have to worry too much because it's very lenient. So the balloon touch challenges are now very much, you can just relax during them. The actual requirements you need to meet in terms of balloons you pop for the requirement to get the balloon at the end is a bit higher. It's going to get higher every track, and eventually it's going to be 40 out of 50 you need. But it's not that hard to get them, thankfully.
Oh, a funny thing about these balloon touch challenges is that if there are obstacles that you can interact with on the track, you can actually kind of like tap on them. Like, see, I'm tapping on that tree and it's shaking. It's both funny, but it also can ruin your balloon tapping. What is with these sections? They did not need to be this difficult.
Yeah, the problem with the trees is that if you tap one when you're trying to like rotate the camera, you just can't rotate the camera. And
DKR walked so Balloon's tower defense could run. It's the parallels. There's Monkey.
Bonky race.
Monkey.
Oh, I tried to grab a coin, but instead I moved the camera. Oh, I did it again.
Thank you, video game.
These are the controls of all time.
Truly.
I do think like the little on the ground perspective and like on the races is kind of, oh, this is okay. This is one of those tracks. It's really short. Just watch how many balloons we're gonna miss. It is like impossible to gold this one, I think. It's not impossible, it's really hard. Like look at this. We've just missed like 4.
Gosh.
We just missed like 4 balloons permanently.
Ooh.
This is a game made for babies, man. What is this?
Brandino confirmed, baby.
Dude, I wish. Then I could actually do these balloon challenges.
Yeah, this looks rough.
We're nearly to the end of this stage already. And like it might seem like our balloon count is rather low, but they just stock every area full of like 30 balloons.
Oh.
Yeah, this is not even the worst one. Don't worry, it gets worse.
No.
I would say Haunted Woods is one of the worst, because that's one of the shortest tracks in the game, and they just throw you into big sections with like 400 balloons and they're like, have fun!
I think Treasure Caves is going to be the worst one, which we're going to see in about 40 minutes' time.
And I just saw a comment in chat that I want to address, but yes, WizPig is on a quest to take down WizPig. I think WizPig can win, but WizPig's got a lot of heart, so we'll have to see. But WizPig's my guy. I think WizPig's got it.
I think WizPig's gonna win, actually.
I agree.
Leo, what do you think?
I'm going to root for WizPig as well, honestly.
Yeah.
I don't know.
let's
WizPig is
go.
a tough contender, but WizPig's pretty fast. We'll have to see. With the WizPig Battle Royale.
One of the funny things about running with WizPig, or actually one of the unfortunate things about running with WizPig specifically, is that there actually is no specific dialogue for when WizPig encounters WizPig. Like, there's no character specific, there's no funny, oh, it's me dialogue. But actually,
it's really funny. What makes that sillier too is that there is specific dialogues, but if you're Taj and you talk to Taj, he's like, "Am I going crazy? I'm talking to myself."
Yeah,
but yeah, WizPig doesn't get
would
any
be
funny
cooler.
dialogue when he meets himself. I think it's because the latter half of this game does show some of the rushed development of it. Like the ending cutscene is like 10 times shorter than N64. It goes by so fast. And there's some issues with MIDI in a few songs in the game that are clearly stemming from like there's something that's a little bit unfinished. I would imagine they had quite a crunch to make this game. I don't know how it got made considering they were owned by Microsoft at the time. But I guess I'll shout out a few games here, but there are several Rareware handheld games that came out after their acquisition from Microsoft. This is one of them. Banjo-Kazooie's Grunty's Revenge is another, which is actually a fantastic little game. Shout out to Gogo, who runs that. And Banjo Pilot, which is not a fantastic game, but it is a game on the Game Boy Advance. It's certainly a game. It was meant to be... Banjo Pilot is in some ways like a spiritual successor to DKR. They were trying to make a DKR-style game with planes. but they lost the license, or the game was converted from a Donkey Kong game into a Banjo game at some point late in development. And you can tell this because the music in Banjo Pilot sounds like Donkey Kong music to the point where there are chimp noises in it.
Oh my gosh.
So like, it must have happened quite late in development. Because
Wow.
the music was already written. Thankfully, this is our last Balloon Touch challenge of the area. Also one of the slowest, because you go through that loop-de-loop and you get a ton of balloons, and then you just have to go back through it like on the normal top route, and you're like, but I've already got all the balloons here. Oh my god! The trees strike again. I just did that because I like the silly noise. Like I said, like they thought you were John Wick with these balloons. Kong Wick.
Kong Wick. Oh, good heavens. I admire it. I admire it.
Thank you. I just think of Diddy with the peanut pop guns from DK64 doing John Wick style stuff.
Oh yeah, you know, he keep the thang on him. Only
yeah.
2 balloons away. Just
Yeah,
well done.
that happens quite frequently. I think the only one I've ever golded is towards the end, because it's like one of the longest tracks and it's kind of hard to miss them. Alright, so we're going to be heading into Bluey for another boss race here, and then after this, we have a trophy race, and then we'll be done with Snowflake, and we'll take a small break.
Awesome.
Okay. Got our start boost once again. I don't know if you guys can hear the noise that it makes when I have to do that. For those wondering, yes, when you're time trialing the hovercraft, you do in fact have to blow into the mic every time you reset. I have in fact gotten lightheaded from time trialing hover tracks.
Yeah, you get used to it.
Yeah, you need to build up your lung capacity to play DKR 64. You need that. You need like Michael Phelps style lung capacity to win this game.
I wonder if they did a scientific study on who the healthiest speedrunners are. You know, up there
Ring
might be
Fit
like, you know,
Adventure. Are you
Ring
kidding
Fit
me?
Adventure kind of speedrunners. Maybe they'll put Connect speedrunners up there, and then it comes down to the DKR speedrunners out there.
DKR speedrunners, the lung capacity is out of this world, but their neck strength is like
Oh,
it's just terrible because I'm sitting here looking down the whole time.
yeah, I do not envy you folks at all. That, yeah, one downside, I suppose.
That is the biggest downside of running a lot of these handheld games on the original consoles. If I didn't bring it up, we're on a chunky DS playing this game, which is this isn't my childhood model, but this is the same model I did have as a kid, where it was the red one that came with Mario Kart DS. All right, trophy race. We're gonna run through our tracks 4 more times, and then we're gonna take a small break after this. So, starting off in Everfrost. We don't need to worry about coins this time around, like at all. Like, we're already pretty much at the coin count we need for when we're out of this next hub world. So, we really can just focus on speed strats here, which is awesome. There's a really cool double balloon, just missed it. One thing that they changed for better in DS, see those little zippers on the ground? Well, we literally call those ground zippers, and the ones in the air are, of course, air zippers. But ground zippers in plane on N64 are incredibly difficult to hit consistently. You have to basically make TT slam his face into them, like at a full, 90-degree angle in order for it to work and give you the speed. Luckily in DS, they fixed that. See if I can, yes, I love getting the double here. You move so fast that you don't get the sound of hitting 2 separate zippers. You only get the sound of hitting 1, but you see the visuals for 2.
Yeah, and it's not just the ground zippers in plane that are a problem on N64. It's actually ground zippers in every vehicle, but mostly plane. Because essentially the hitboxes might as well be a couple units high in total. There are some cases where you can literally drive over a zipper and not have it activate on N64.
N64 also has a ghost balloon problem, where occasionally you'll drive through balloons at such a high speed that it doesn't actually register you picking them up.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's not just balloons either, like bananas as well. Like you can be on one side of the balloon on one frame and then on the other side of it on the next, and you won't pick it up.
That's great. That is
Man,
great.
Wizpig's so
Interestingly,
cool.
I know that it's something that we sort of talked a little bit before this run, But somebody mentioned, would it count as tool assisted if you blasted the DS with an actual air horn at the start of Hovercraft?
Well, we'll answer that question just a little bit later into this run, but it isn't. It's actually quite legal to use a can of compressed air in order to achieve your goals.
Have you tried an air horn though? That was what they suggested, and to be quite honest, I would pay good money to see you just whip out an air horn.
I don't think my neighbors would really like that. I'm going to be honest. I think my neighbors would have something to say about an air horn in Diddy Kong Racing, but I don't know. I'm not a mind
You
reader.
just tell them that you're getting some world records. I'm sure they'd understand.
I'd be like, it's DKRDS, man, and they'd be like, oh, sorry.
Sorry. Have a nice day.
Here we are in Walrus Cove once again, trying not to fall into the water a second time. If we can not fall into the water, I'll consider it successful. Yeah, I think Leah mentioned, but the ice in N64 is actually different there. It's not water, it's ice, and it's bouncy. And you can get stuck bouncing in place if you fall off the track. They really, made this game incredibly punishing. There are so many things that you just can't do or else the car loses everything. I love this drift right here around the curve, because we're going to go island, and then we have to kind of let go at the right. We drove into the water. Unsuccessful.
Yeah, I think you can do with that drift is actually you can drift across the entire right side path of this track. At the end, you can drift across all of it and also past the finish line. And if you actually switch directions in the drift when you get to these balloons, you can actually hold the drift all the way into the loop from that point in the track. You can do some really long drifts in the game. Some tracks, there are 2 tracks actually that you can complete in a single drift technically from the beginning and you never break it.
Oh, those are so cool. Yeah, so there's 2 tracks and I can think of that we have RTA viable, single drifts, which is Ancient Lake and Treasure Caves. But like Leah said, yeah, those tracks are designed in such a way that we can get one power slide that lasts the entire level if you do it correctly. But obviously it's not easy. Oh! I got the nice slide into the left side of the loop. That's slightly faster, but really hard to pull off because of the geometry of the level. Snowball Valley. I'm excited to do this track a second time because we don't have to grab the key this time, which means we can just zoom through this level. Let's try to get a sub 1 minute. Well, that's not going to help. That's fine. We readjusted immediately.
Well, getting out of that tunnel is really awkward. The slopes just mess with your car so much, and it's very inconsistent whether you actually have good grip onto the slope or if you just go flying over it.
There, I purposely drifted too far to the right so that I could dump the oil slick on the right side, not have to worry about it, because I'm going to be sticking to the left when I come back through there. Oh, I wanted to chain those together, but the L press didn't come out fast enough. It's okay. Yeah, see, there's the oil slick from last route. Again, that's the difficulty of picking up oil items, is that, you can easily put them in your own path. I've been hit by my own oil slicks more times than I can count. We got squished by a snow... Oh, what is Tiny Kong doing? Is she just, sitting there? Oh, and we hit it after we beat the race. Awesome.
Sometimes you find one CPU or 1 or 2 CPUs will just get stuck really far behind the pack and you don't know what happened to them. They just got very lost, very confused somewhere.
Leah, did you happen to see the time on that? I got a 100.05.
I think that was 10005.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. We were so close to greatness. Here we are back in Frosty Village to end off our Snowflake Mountain journey. These are some of the most fun tracks in the game, I think. Just consider everything but Walrus Cove, really, I love. This level is notorious in N64 for being one of the laggiest. And that's another thing we can talk about, is that N64 runners have to deal a lot more with lag and have a lot more strats to deal with lag. Because obviously, that's such a huge part of older games. I mean, newer games too, but in older games especially, lag is such a huge problem. In N64, and this will break some people's hearts to hear, they actually turn off the game's music to reduce lag. So let me explain that the N64 has no dedicated auditory processing component on its board. It processes all music as instructions and through the same CPU that processes everything else. So yeah, music adds complexity to the N64 games. That's one of the reasons that I believe Banjo-Tooie is so incredibly laggy, is that that has a dynamically changing soundtrack depending on where you are in a lot of parts of the game. And it already is extremely laggy because of how impressive the textures and size of every level is, and that only adds complexity. And DKR, what's interesting about DKR N64 is that it's one of the only N64 games I can think of where music is a separate slider from sound effects, and you can actually turn it off. So yeah, they turn off the music in N64 to save time. Mostly in Dino and Dragon Forest, because that's where it really matters.
Yeah, lag isn't really a thing almost in DKRDS. Like, the only real existence of lag is mostly when you're trying to do out-of-bounds flips, because you've got a lot happening on the camera at once. But yeah, lag doesn't do really anything. It's not even like it's not even like a nuisance. It just kind of happens sometimes.
All right, so like I said, this will be a good spot for a break. So I'm gonna drive to the next hub world, and then we can stop there for a little bit. So we're gonna take a break because I need to turn on the AC in my room. It is so hot right now. Oh, we're gonna talk to our friend TT on the way out. He loves to run right into you as you're leaving.
Classic.
And back to the overworld we go. We have nothing to buy this time around, so we're just gonna head straight to the beach because it was really cold on that mountain, and now we need to relax.
But you just said you're going to turn your AC on. The beach can be very hot. The beach can be very hot.
Yeah, I have been to Florida. All right. Here we are in Sherbet Island. I think this is a good point to take our break for the moment. So I think we'll be back shortly.
Awesome. Well, folks, we are going to be pausing the timer. We're just going to take a little moment to have a wellness break, just check up on ourselves, make sure that we're staying hydrated, make sure we're staying stretched. Look, Brandino was a perfect example of how to, get a little bit of stretching on. If you've been looking down at your DSs like Brandino, check your neck. Yeah. If you've been blowing into your DSs like Brandino, check your breath as well. And we will be back very shortly with some more wonderful DKR DS action. We will see you very soon. All right, folks, welcome back. We hope you had a good chance to, get stretched and join us for the rest of this DKR 64 any percent speedrun that Brandino is taking us through before we jump back into it. Just a little more housekeeping of what's happening in the Games Done Quick sphere. Frame for Towels, if you don't know about that, that is a Games Done Quick all-women online speedrunning community, and the upcoming event Flame for Towels will run from August 13th to the 20th, and the schedule for that will be released on July the 6th. So if you're interested about that, you can go to gamesdonequick.com/framefortowels for more information. And in the meantime, for what's going on right now, the hot fixes, your subs, Prime Gaming subs, gift subs, and bits cheered on the GDQ Twitch channel help support these events happening, the Games Done Quick hot fixes. So please consider subscribing if you enjoy the daily speedrunning content. And let me tell you, I've been enjoying this speedrun content. Brandino has been killing it so far. Leah has given us some incredible insight into DKR DS. I almost said 64. Definitely not 64. You wouldn't be able to make it on the show if it was 64. But this is DKR DS. Brandino, take us away again.
All right. Hey, you want to count back in? So I'll count us down and I'll unpause the game and we can continue our adventure here in Sherbet Island. So in 3, 2, 1, let's go. All right.
Good luck again.
Thank you. Sherbet Island is a fun but unique area in that it's the most hover that you're going to see across the entire run. There's a really sick drift here, like this, that you can do, but it's difficult. Oh, there we go, perfect. Yeah, you'll hit the water if you're not careful, and that's a really bad water to hit. You lose like 5-6 seconds just falling in the water once. And we mentioned it earlier, this level can be done in one drift throughout the entire 3 laps, but it is time trial only and extremely hard.
Yeah, you have to go to the very left of that zipper like that so you don't hit it. And then you have to essentially hold a very specific angle that makes you not hit the wall on the final turn. It's very precise, and I've only
And then there's this downhill section, which we've mentioned before, but it lets you go airborne, and going airborne while drifting is a way to lose your... Whoops. Oh, something we didn't mention because it hasn't happened yet, but that can happen too. You'll notice when I'm drifting that I'm kind of like jimmying in a way, like back and forth. That's because if you drift too long in one direction, you spin the car out. Which is just not fun. Quick question, are you guys still hearing game audio? Because I can't hear it on my end for some reason.
But the way that like we watch it through, you know, the restreaming, we don't hear it anyway. So I guess that's a question for chat. If folks
Yeah, I have the game plugged into like a external speaker here, but I'm having trouble hearing it right now. So I was wondering if that was just me or there's an issue with the sound.
The jams.
Exactly. Especially there's a really cool song in this level too. So I was making sure that we could all hear it.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll get confirmation that we will keep you in the loop.
Yep, that's good. Yeah, I assume it's probably just my end. Something weird with my speaker. That jump I just did right there is so ridiculously hard in 3DS to pull, or 3DS, in DS to pull off consistently. You get a ton of air if you have a lot of speed into a boost like that. If you have a ton of speed into a boost on a slope like that, which is reminds me of a Sonic game, and it's impossible to find a good direction that won't make you slam into a wall. This is one of the most difficult hover tracks in the game, and it's like the first major hover track that we do.
Yeah,
I almost slammed into that wall there because like the momentum that you have that carries from that boost is so hard to redirect in a way that's useful.
Yeah, the thing about Pirate Lagoon is that all of the water is wavy, and that's a big problem because, as I mentioned at the very beginning of the run during Proper Challenge, if you try and turn while you're in contact with a surface or liquid, you just kind of swerve everywhere. So you really need your hops to stay perfectly on top of the water if you want to make any clean turns in this track.
Oh, there it is. Yep, you missed the zipper and you're slightly off and you hit a wall there. That's the other reason that jump is so difficult. On the N64, it's a lot easier, but on this one, with the way hover controls, making that jump consistently is just goofy. The capital G. And here we've got key number 3, and quite possibly, no, not quite possibly, this is absolutely, without a doubt, the worst key in the game. You'll see why. But one of the things is we have to grab this key on lap 3 because we want to be very far ahead of our competitors, like we did for the Snowball Valley key. But we're doing it on lap 3 too because you can mess up this key and they can all get ahead of you, and like I have almost lost this race a couple times. You don't lose races very often, but when you're put in a position where you almost lose, it can be really, really flustering because you just don't lose races very often. So you want to not put yourself in positions where you could potentially lose a race, because getting into a spot where you really need to catch up can be quite a jam. You'll notice that we haven't even seen the key because it's hidden off to the side in the water. And we're going to have to drive into the water and grab it, which, if you've been here before, you know that driving through the water is not a good idea. But in this game, no choice. Alright, lap 3, time to grab the key. I'm going to set myself up in such a way that I can grab it and quickly get back onto the land. It's in a different spot, so N64 veterans who think they know where it is or might be wrong. It's actually over here in this water. And I kind of got into the water weird, so now I don't know where the key is. I need to readjust. There we go.
Nice.
This is why we grab it on lap 3, because even with the massive amount of speed that we have, if I were to grab that on lap 2, I could potentially put myself in a position where I'm behind, and I don't want to do that. That key is just a nightmare to grab, though, both because it's out of the way and you might forget it, which has happened to me, and because it's in this horrific spot where you just have to lose all your speed to grab it. We were theorizing that potentially the key is there because they wanted you to go back into the level after it was done with the hover vehicle and grab it with that. But I don't think you can do that in adventure mode, so I don't know why it's there.
Yeah, we can't do that in adventure mode. It's not possible to use like any vehicle other than the intended one we're supposed to use. Frankly, we were pretty far ahead there anyway. Like if you look on the bottom screen, you can see like a diagram of how far the CPU's behind, where the CPUs are in the race, and they were very far behind there. So no real risk, but it can get very scary if they're close.
All right, here we are in Whale Bay. Fun fact about Whale Bay, neither Taj, Wizpig, nor TT are the fastest character in time trials here. That honor goes to Drumstick, everybody's favorite chicken.
And now Drumstick is, essentially, he has the fastest top speed in Hover. He's actually tied for fastest with top speed with Crunch, the Kremlin, but he is essentially the fastest Hover character, and especially for tracks like this that don't have a lot of sharp turns, he's really able to maximize his potential with the speed. Now, Wizpig is actually technically the third fastest character in Hover, but the other thing about Hover is that all of the characters pretty much are viable. Like, you can use the entire cast in Hover on a Hover track and get a pretty good time with it. Because there's not a huge difference between the characters' top speeds, unlike the other vehicles. So you can even compare the slowest Hover characters to the fastest ones, and you won't see a difference of more than like a couple seconds in a 2-minute track.
Oh, one thing I want to mention is that you can see here how hard it is to guide Hover while you have a lot of speed. This whale is so unbelievably annoying on DS. Oh, and I fell through the ship anyway. For whatever reason, they made that whale way thinner on DS, so climbing up on top of the ship requires a really specific angle, which of course is really hard to hit while you're going full speed in Hover, one of the goofiest controlling vehicles. It's just a mess. I don't know why they did it that way.
Yeah, not only that, but the hole in the ship wasn't actually there on N64, and not only is the hole suddenly there, it actually kind of drags you down into it if you get close enough to it, which is a massive problem.
Here we've got boss number 3, Bubbler the Octopus. Despite how easy the other bosses were, this is definitely... Sorry, I had to blow into my DS there. This is definitely the hardest. The thing about Bubbler is that we actually, despite our speed, we don't get a huge lead on him at all in this race. If you look at the bottom screen, he is consistently right behind us for almost the entire race. This is the kind of race where one mistake means that he catches up. And adding on to the fact that like this kind of a strange track, he likes to drop, in race 1, he drops mines all over the track. And in race 2, he drops bubbles, both of which are upgrades of our typical oil slick item. Mines, if you hit, you get sent up into the air for a second, you know, in like a little animation, and it's like, oh no, I've been hit. But if you hit a bubble, you are trapped for like 3 seconds in place, and you lose all your speed, he catches up, and then you have to try to get ahead again. It's an absolute nightmare. Ooh! That was a clutch save. But like, if we do this race right, it looks super simple. But it's not. This is the hardest boss race in the game, because every minor mistake lets him catch up. Even when we're one of the fastest characters in the game, it doesn't matter. And another point to bring up is that Hover is the only vehicle we're not going to fully upgrade over the course of the run. And that's because we spend all of our time after upgrading the car saving money so we can upgrade the plane, because the plane is used way more in endgame than Hover is. Hover is only used the most in Sherbet Island.
Yeah, throughout the whole course of the run, Hover actually only sees 20 to 25 minutes of gameplay in a little over 2.5 hours, which is not a whole lot, especially compared to like the 50 to 55 minutes car gets and the 30 minutes plane gets. So, yeah, it's not really worth upgrading Hover, especially because by the time we get enough money to get a Hover upgrade, we only have 1 or 2 Hover tracks left anyway.
Oh, here we are back at everybody's favorite section, the balloons. This is one of the hardest balloon tracks. They hide them in such tiny little spots that are hard to notice here. And another thing we haven't brought up, balloons are not, even though if you can see a balloon really far away, they aren't poppable until you're within a certain radius of them. So you'll notice that like sometimes I'm just like looking at a balloon that's really far away, but I'm tapping the screen repeatedly so that it pops as soon as we enter that radius. But that can be difficult, because if you spend too much time trying to pop one balloon, you inevitably miss more. I don't know how they expected children to gold these. I just don't. Oh look, guess what? There's 2 right here. Hope you got all the ones at the beginning the first time around, because you need to spend all your time turning around for those last 2. Game made for babies. You love to see it.
Pirate Lagoon.
Pirate Lagoon time. Also, I fixed the audio issue on my end. I don't know how, but my speaker turned itself down during the break.
Incredible. Well, it seemed like chat was vibing along to music when we weren't sure that it was working. So, hey, that's what matters. That is what matters in the end.
Exactly. This game has really great music. Even the new tracks that they've replaced some of the older tracks with. Like, this is a new song in Pirate Lagoon here, and I really like it.
That's good.
I think the biggest compliment I can give this version of the game is that I spent a year and a half grinding N64, and I still really like the DS version. That's the biggest compliment I can give this game. Because I can tell you that a lot of N64 runners, maybe not the hugest fan of DS, for a number of reasons. The least of which is its capture problems. So I want to give a shout out too. I got to meet some DKR runners during SGDQ this year. So shout out to Tried and Tail and Sweener Dog and Antonio. Got to meet them all. Tried and Tail is one of the best 100% runners in the world. That man is so unbelievably good at Diddy Kong Racing 64 100%. You should check him out sometime if you want to see gameplay that'll absolutely blow your mind. And Sweener is the all trophy races world record holder. Something cool about DKR N64 is that a different person holds the world record in every category. There's no one dominant player, really. And even then, the time trials and the RTA categories all have separate champions as well. So DKR is quite a large community full of really good racers. There are very few people that don't measure up.
Yeah,
in a way that, like, couldn't get a good time.
The thing about DKR is that there's so much to do that it's impossible to be really good at everything, really.
Exactly. It's hard to even be like a specialist in all three vehicles. Usually people are really good at one vehicle and pretty okay in the others. Like Obayo, another one of the best players, his plane is like miles ahead of other people's. But it still isn't everything because he goes for really risky plane movement, and when you're good at plane, you do the riskiest stuff, and plane is the highest risk reward in N64 because you can go really fast or you can lose all your speed by hitting a tiny wall. Not to mention that N64 plane has a ton of out of bounds that add to the real complexity of it. I should say too, there actually are 2 out of bounds in N64 that are not plane, because one thing about it is that like out of bounds only usually work in plane because when you're outside of the track, obviously there's no floor, so only plane can really make use of that. But we have one hover out of bounds in the Bluey race where people actually can shoot. It saves like literally 1 second, but with a ton of speed and hover, you can shoot over a wall, and that saves a second. And then in Dark Moon Caverns, which is a level we'll get to later, there actually is a out of bounds with the car where you go through these loops, and if you ram the car 90 degrees into the side of the loop, the car shoots out and goes through a wall and will drive straight to the finish line. It's really cool, but really precise. We're good on coins here too, by the way. We won 100 coins leaving Sherbet Island. Thank God we have both Sherbet and Snowflake to gather all these coins, though, so it's way less challenging than having 100 coins by the end of Dino, because that is actually a pretty tall order. We both need RNG to go well, and we have to be collecting pretty efficiently.
Yeah, there's basically no pressure at all to get enough coins by the end of Sherbet Island. You don't even have to think about it. You can just...
Yeah, you just kind of have it. Because by the time you complete Snowflake, you're like guaranteed like 60 to 70 coins, and it's really easy to pick up 30 more at the beginning of Sherbet. Yeah, I want to say too that I've done these balloon challenges like 100 times at this point, and I still don't know where all the balloons are. They just put them in the worst possible spots, and they hide them behind things. Like, you really need to know every bit about those balloon tracks in order to do them like 100%. And here, our old friend Bubbler has returned. He is going to... It's basically the same race as before, but this time he's going to drop bubbles on the track. Which, as I said before, is like extremely punishing to run into and will definitely put us behind him if we do. So we have to be very careful here.
Yeah, if you touch one bubble, you're going to be at a massive deficit, and if you touch two, then you should just reset.
Yeah, Bubbler, this is the hardest boss race next to WizPig 2. And Part of the reason that it is just because we don't have a fully upgraded hovercraft. So we're kind of working off of the speed tech from the earlier parts of the game here. I think they expected you to have more of an upgraded hovercraft by this point. This boss is hard, though. N64, he is just as hard, and a lot of casual players will remember losing to him quite a bit. But in N64, the speedrun is so fast there, and the hover vehicle is so unbelievably, like, technical that a good player can lap him. Which is just unbelievable compared to what we see in DS. Like, I wish we could lap him. That would be awesome. And you can see I'm avoiding the bubbles there, but they are right in the way, and one bad turn can easily put us into a bubble, so I'm doing my best. Felt like firing those. Oh my god, that was so close to hitting that bubble. Okay, I think we're in the clear. Let's just avoid this last one. Cool. Alright, Bubbler 2. Easy money. I wanted to hit the bubble as he crossed the finish line just for the fun of it, but I missed. He says, great job. Now go beat the trophy race. And I guess we're going to have to take his advice and go beat the trophy race. Going to try to avoid TT like we've seen before. TT walks around in the center here. If we run into him, he'll tell us things, and we don't want him to do that.
How dare he, quite honestly.
Yeah, I know. The audacity. Boy, it sure is funny to have to blow into the DS consistently.
I was about to say, you already mentioned that, like, it's hot where you are right now. I can't imagine, you know, when it's really hot, you know,
We got the AC
commentating as well as having to blow into the DS.
It's
Combination
certainly-
of wild things.
Yeah, this game is really unique for reasons like that. That's why DS games are so funny to speedrun. There's like stuff you don't do in any other game. Like, we had to draw a circle to go fast. Like, I can't think of any other game where that's been a problem. As much as I'd love to grab blue balloons for this tunnel, coming out of that tunnel with way too much speed makes the setup for the whale, like, impossible. Like, I just messed up slightly and now we can't get on the whale because the hovercraft just goes its own way. You really are at the mercy of its turn. Whew, and we just missed it. How did we miss that balloon? Wow. I'm calling Rare about that one. That's not fair. Yeah, I don't want to use this blue balloon until later. It's just not worth it out of this tunnel. See if we can get on the... Ooh, oh my god! It is extremely hard to describe, but man, is that whale hard to jump on and get enough speed to get on top of the bridge and like still get on the whale. They made it way too hard. Oh no! I couldn't get that start boost. I couldn't grab my stylus in time, so I was trying to use my fingernail, and I don't have fingernails to really make it work, so... Unfortunate, but that does be happening. Oh! Just laughed at Timber because we passed him.
In N64, there's actually a minor rubber banding mechanic where if you fail the start boost, other computers will also fail the start boost, but that's not really present in DS.
This tunnel is actually much harder to deal with than N64.
Yeah, if you're trying to take that last turn at full speed on N64, you pretty much have to... You have a 1 or 2 frame window where you can press the B button to brake and make the turn without losing speed.
Oh god. Crescent Island's a very strange track. Really weird design for the car, especially inside the ship. There's our friend Tip Top. Sorry, I had to fix an audio thing real quick on my end. It's really hard to adjust computer speakers correctly sometimes. There we go.
Nice. Absolute pro. Absolute pro.
Okay, great intro here. That turn around the corner into the zipper is way harder than it looks because of how hover turns.
Yeah, a lot of the turns in this track that don't even look that bad, they're just way worse than they should be because this is Pirate Lagoon we're talking about, and as I mentioned earlier, the water, it constantly moves up and down, so you have to stay on top of it to really have any control of your vehicle.
And water loves to pull you down because, like as Leia said before, it's wavy water. So getting under the water can lose you speed. We want to stay above it, but it's hard because this water in particular loves to pull us back in. Can we make it? Nope.
You know, we're seeing a lot of love for this game, and like a lot of people being like, yo, we need a remaster for this. Do we know what current status like this IP is in at all, or you know, is this like the last thing that we've seen of it?
To be honest with you, I think it's in a weird spot because this was like a Rareware game made with some Nintendo licensed characters and other Rareware licensed characters, and the acquisition to Microsoft makes that a lot harder. People are hoping that they'll put it on NSO, but I mean, like Banjo-Kazooie being on there really does like lend itself to wild, like, oh, when's DK64, when's Banjo-Tooie, when's Diddy Kong Racing, but they haven't. I don't know. I just tried to split even though my splits weren't there.
Muscle memory.
Yeah, muscle memory. Yeah, I really wish that they would put this game somewhere. The DS version probably won't see the light of day ever again, but the N64 version more than likely will find itself on another console someday. Rareware and Nintendo have a better working relationship than they did before. And again, I mean, Banjo's in Smash, Hey Rule's in Smash. Nintendo is allowed to use Rareware characters, so I would like to think that means something for this game. But it's kind of a history will tell.
Yeah, we could have had a chance to see DKLDS somewhere else when the Wii U VC was still getting new games, but we didn't get it on there, sadly.
Wii U VC is very weird. One of the things I just recently discovered is that Wii U VC in Japan got the Sonic Advance games, but we didn't in the US, and I think that's just criminal. Why would you release Sonic Advance in one country but not the other, man? It's Sonic Advance.
So sad.
Here we are in our very last race, Sherbet Islands. Everybody say goodbye to the beach because we're gonna go and enjoy some of the funniest things this game has to offer pretty soon. And I'll show it. We have a can of compressed air here. This is about to come into play.
Let's go.
I hope you guys will be able to hear the funny noises it makes. And we just won Sherbet Island. We are truly the king of Timbers Island right now with one last place to go. But before we go there, something I mentioned way back at the beginning of the run. This game on N64 had 4 balloons that you could grab in the overworld. And in this game, they removed 2 of them and changed the requirements on them. So like you had the ice balloon and the one we had to draw. But then the other 2, they gave to our friend Taj, and they said, let's make 2 extra challenges with Taj. The first of which is the one that I'm about to use compressed air for. So they want you to blow out all the torches on the island as fast as you can, and this is just a nightmare. So I'm gonna focus on this, Leah, if you want to explain it.
Yeah, so there are 3 torches in this one area and a bunch of other torches in the other. If I can talk over the sound of compressed air, you essentially have to get near them and then blow into the microphone, or at least that's what you're meant to do.
So those are the first 3. The next 3 are much harder because there's a line of like 5 in a row, and they're like above you in a way that seems to make blowing on them harder.
Yeah, it's very hard to get close to the torches here quickly because of the slope you have to go up to get into this area. And yeah, it's possible to do this race very fast. You can actually do it in under 30 seconds if you're fast enough, but it's very hard to get used to, and it's probably the most unwieldy race in the entire game.
Nice.
Yeah. That literally is why I used a can of compressed air just for that. We want to avoid talking to Taj here because we got to go buy something real quick.
Yeah, if you go and talk to Taj first before you buy the upgrade, he will instantly ask you to do the next minigame we're going to do, which we don't want to do because we want to get the upgrade first, so we can actually go faster inside it, which will be very important.
Coming up, this right here is probably one of the hardest things in the entire game. What we're going to be doing is a race against Taj, where tokens will randomly spawn on the island. We need to collect 10 to win, and Taj can also collect them. But, like I just said, the tokens randomly spawn, and you're given like a radar to find them. So you have to be extremely good at reading the radar and knowing where they spawn. I would compare this to something like Sonic Adventure 2 hunting, where you have to get really good at both reading the radar and reacting in real time to wherever they appear. Like right now, I think this one is Secret Beach. Let's see. Yep, Secret Beach. This one's a really not great one to get. But this is all RNG. You have to know where everything is, and you have to kind of just react. Like, our radar is just this little arrow, and it actually is not very wieldy in terms of telling us where things are. So you both have to read the radar well and kind of make educated guesses. And also, I love losing all of my speed. It's a really fun pastime.
Yeah,
Alright, I'm just going to let Taj grab this one and go back to the hub. So sometimes you just kind of have to take the L and hope that the next spawn is going to be more beneficial to you if you really can't get one fast enough. Yeah, see, look, actually, this worked out pretty well. Is this in the log? No. I'm looking at the top screen also to try to figure out where they are. Where is this one? Okay, that one was by the lighthouse, or maybe right here. I think this one is by the lighthouse. I'm not sure. Okay, no, this is Hub World. The most amount of tokens spawn in the Hub World. Like the main hub.
Yeah, if you saw how much faster we were than Taj getting up to that one, that's why the speed upgrade is so important. We can beat him to tokens we should not be able to beat him to.
This is not going well, but that just happens sometimes. We'll catch up to him soon. I think if I reach a certain threshold, I'll restart the challenge, but we still have a chance. We still have a pretty big chance to win. Okay, yeah, okay, this is a more beneficial spawn here. Under the bridge is a common one. And, like, part of the tech of this is that, like, you need to kind of slow down while picking one up so that you can quickly be ready to go get the next one. And that's hard. They're in really goofy places. And I think you've seen, but plane doesn't react well to some geometry. So this is a... I can't overstate how difficult this challenge is. In a game made for babies. Alright, well, I'm taking a risk here by going this way, but I think it might benefit us. There's the difficulty again, like, you pick your angle and just go and hope that you pick the right way. It reminds me a ton of Sonic Adventure 2 treasure hunting. There's so much you need to know about the radar and where these things spawn, and there's so much about just reacting quickly to wherever the next one is.
Shoutouts to Knuckles.
Shoutouts to Knuckles. He's our guy. Yeah, this isn't the most ideal score right now, but we're still ahead, and that's what's important. Oh my god, I can't believe I... Oh! That's great RNG for the ending! We did it!
Let's go!
Awesome, awesome. That is... As you can imagine, that throws a massive wrench into the speedrun. It's really hard to both get good RNG and react fast enough that some RNG doesn't matter.
Yeah, that is where some runs come to die. Some.
Alright, this level has a banger song, and it's not the original song from the game. So enjoy this, but here we are in Dragon Forest, which is the 4th hub world, the hardest on Timbers Island, and has some of the longest tracks in the game. So that's cool, because I think we've been seeing a lot of tracks that are like a minute long. So it's cool to get some of the like minute and a half, 2-minute tracks. There's a cool out of bounds in this track on 64, but it's one of the hardest out of bounds in the game.
Yeah, we do have an out of bounds on DS as well, but it's a very awkward out of bounds, and it's another one that's like, yeah, it's TAS only. Essentially, you have to get on top of a windmill's blades and carry a boost with you, and then after you've done making tiny adjustments so that you stay on top of the blade and don't fall off, you have to essentially boost at a very specific time to go over the map instead of going and clipping down under the map. It's very weird.
This level is also really tricky because, again, there's a lot of geometry for the plane to bonk on. Like, trying to get this double zipper here can be really rough. That's not an easy zipper to grab. Like, having a lot of speed in a tight tunnel with plane is, like, the worst possible scenario. I'm not sure if the ground zipper or the air zipper is faster there, but I just kind of go between taking either.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter that much. I personally take the air zipper because it's less vertical movement.
Oh, a thing we should mention about air zippers. You'll notice that they make like this big circle. You don't want to hit them dead on in the center. You want to hit them on their sides. So a big thing about how air zippers work in both this game and 64 is that if you approach them at the proper facing angle and hit the sides, you will get the speed from it without getting stuck, as we call it, in it there. But like what happens is if you approach it at the wrong facing angle and try to hit it dead center, the plane will get caught for just a moment in the zipper before being released. And that loses time. So you need to be able to hit these kind of precisely in order to get the most amount out of them. And that can be really hard because you're adjusting your facing angle while you're racing. Welcome to Greenwood Village, home of the bonk. If I get through this without smacking into a wall, it's a miracle. It's also a really cool track, though. Some of the goofiest design of any track in the game, though. There's some weird stuff going on here. Like this hill into this weird, bumpy road. Hard to drift correctly on this because the bumps will send you airborne, and as we've mentioned a number of times, airborne car bad, especially while drifting. That turn is way harder than it looks to get out of the tunnel without bonking into a wall. And here's a really sick drift. We're actually going to drift all the way into the lap transition and beyond. That's one of the longest drifts we'll do in the run. Pretty precise, but it's really fun. Saving the boost so I can boost over this hill. A strat I stole from N64. Yeah, look at this tunnel. Like, it's actually really hard to get through that tunnel without losing a little bit of speed because of your turns. Same with this one. And we bonked, as I expected. And you notice there, that all still worked out. Oh, I just gained speed there by utilizing a magnet upgrade to pull myself towards the next racer. That's a really rare strat that you can do because things have to kind of fall into place for it. But if you have that magnet upgrade, it pulls you to the closest racer that's in front of you. So you can actually get a little bit of speed out of that. I believe Mr. Ponytail, one of the best N64 time trialers, has done that occasionally in RTA runs. He's one of the only people I can think of.
Shout out to Mr. Ponytail, by the way, if you're watching.
Oh yeah, shout out to Mr. Ponytail. I love that guy. He is so good at car. Like, almost unanimously agreed on by the community that Ponytail is the best car racer.
Boulder Canyon.
Okay, Boulder Canyon. Something very, very funny about this. Wait, hang on. Track is that in N64, this track had a dynamically changing soundtrack. So depending on where you were in the level, you got a different part of the song. And for some reason on DS, they couldn't do that, or they didn't want to do that. I don't know which. But the game, they tried to just make the music track play in a way where it's oh, they'll be here at the 20-second mark, so put the transition there. And it works for the first lap, but every continuing lap, the music just kind of gets more and more corrupted as you're not in parts of the level that are playing other parts of the level's music. It's extremely silly.
Yeah, the dynamic soundtrack in this track is actually fits perfectly with the Balloon Touch challenge for this track, and it's pretty much designed around that. So when we get to the Balloon Touch challenge, you'll find it all lines up perfectly, but in races, it's a bit weird.
And alright, we're going to be grabbing our last key of the run here. You do not want to boost on... Oh, almost the God key grab by landing directly on it. Either way, that was great. But one thing about that drawbridge is that if you boost at it before it's fully up, you might go straight through it. It's really weird when it's slanting like that. You need to wait for it to be fully up or else it won't work.
Yeah, it's also possible to actually grab the keys so fast that you actually go under the bridge when you come back down. which is a bad thing. Like, it's a very, very bad thing, because if you fall off the bridge, you have to actually go around and enter the castle from the left or the right side, which not only is really slow, it's a lot more distance to cover. You don't even get the first zipper in the castle, so you lose a massive amount of time.
Yeah, it's rough. If we hit that bell there to open the drawbridge, and what's really funny is that throws off all the CPUs if they're right behind you. Like, they all get smushed at the drawbridge and have to go take the slow route. So by getting the key here, we just guarantee to win, because the CPUs cannot keep up once you've done that.
Nice.
Well, and we avoided the logs pretty well. We have to get the backup balloon, because sometimes you just have too much speed coming out of that corner, and it's really hard to turn. Whew. Tough track. Last key of the run, thankfully. Also, what's funny to mention is that this game has unique variations of the key, but in N64 they all look like that one, like just like a random plain golden key. But in this game they style the keys to areas, like the Dino Domain one looks like a fossil, and the Snowflake Mountain one is like frozen. And I don't know if you guys saw it, but the one in the beach levels was like shaped like an anchor. So that's pretty fun. I like a lot of the changes like that, where they give everything more of its own personality.
Yeah, they do that with the trophies you get as well in the trophy races. Each one looks different and unique.
Yeah, in N64, the gold trophy that you get from winning all the trophy races is just a golden whiz pig. But in this game, they're unique to the area. So like in Dino Domain, you get a dino tooth. In Snowflake Mountain, you get a snowy tree. In the other, I forget what you get in Sherbet. I think it's a palm tree.
Yeah,
and in Dragon, what do you get in Dragon? I don't even remember.
In Dragon, I think you get like a fortress.
Yes, yeah, you get a little like tower, because this is like a medieval style track. And then in Future Funland, which is the space level, you get like a little Saturn. Not a Sega Saturn though. That'd be cool.
Oh, completely.
What's the point? There's some cool drifts. This is one of the shortest tracks in the game, but has some of the most tight drifting. Getting around that tree can be hard, but it's a really fun little part of the track. All right, let's head into the boss. So, our good friend, Smokey the Drag... Oh, how did I hit the loading zone? What? Okay. I didn't know that could happen. N64, this track you can actually go out of bounds in. It's kind of a semi-precise out of bounds, and it's pretty hard, but it's not like a huge gatekeeper or anything. So you can definitely do it with some practice. In this version, we don't have that, so we just race Smokey normally. But because we just got that plane upgrade, and we're Whizpig and all, like he can't really catch up. This is a less nerve-wracking race than Bubbler is, which was the octopus, just because of the fact that it's really hard for him to catch up after like one lap, even if you start making mistakes.
Yeah, the thing about this race actually is that, like the one I mentioned in Windmill Plains, we do actually have an out of bounds here, which is again TAS only. So you get on top of the windmill and then boost over the level. But the funny thing is, actually, the out of bounds for this level on the Nintendo 64 version was found on April 1st, 2019. And the out of bounds in the DS version was found on April 1st, 2021.
Just one big joke. Yeah, actually, I think what's cool about N64 is that it still has strats that are evolving. Like they found out of bounds for some of the plane levels that they thought were just next to impossible for years. So N64 too, what's really, really cool about it is that because of the game's really difficult speed tech, that game is almost like a limitless skill ceiling. Like, you can get so good at N64 and there can still be so much left to understand. Alright, we beat Smokey, and now we have to go race TT one more time in a wish race. But this one is really fun because he doesn't guide us in building the track. He lets us make whatever we want. So of course we need to go fast, right? Oh wait, no. That's
Oh no.
That's the next one.
I forgot to do the one in Shepherd Island.
Oh my god! That's what happened!
Oh no.
No, that's okay, that's okay. I'm gonna go do that one real quick. Actually, no, I should probably just do this one. Okay, yeah. Small mistake, it happens.
All right, we're having a good time. We're get lost in the moment. We get lost in the sauce sometimes.
Lost in that sauce. I know what you mean.
We get to play more Diddy
Okay,
Kong
so
Racing DS.
yeah, this is the one we should have done in Turbid Island where he draws
So
a T
true.
because TT's vanity knows no bounds. And this is the track where you'll see TT fly off quite a lot if you watch the bottom screen. He cannot stay on this track. And honestly, neither can I.
Oh, he stayed on that corner.
Yeah, the corners are really where it's hard.
And
Because,
he's gone up on that one. That's one.
oh, yeah, he just fell off again. He is so close to the edge, too. I can see him on the bottom
Yeah,
screen.
he is.
He's, like, I don't know what the AI...
That's two.
He's off again. Oh, I need to slow down there. I would have fallen. These tracks are so goofily designed. It's just amazing that you can even TT can even drive remotely on them.
That's
he's off
three. Can chat count with me? Let's see how many times it happens.
It's shaped
That's
like the
three.
first letter of his name, and
Oh.
he can't even drive on it.
It's funny that even on the straights, like, he goes off.
Yeah, right. Like, what is wrong with the AI?
And then
He's
some of the
probably- you know
corners,
what,
he's
honestly,
fine.
He's texting while driving, and this is a good PSA that you shouldn't do that. You'll end
So
up like
true.
TT.
Oh.
Oh, I don't know what happened there, but we barely fell off and respawned like immediately.
It's
This
fine.
game is just giving me the best interactions today. And if you look down, you will see, it's harder to see here, I think, because the tracks are green and kind of blend in. But if you look down and kind of focus a little bit, you will see the whoa, oh my god!
6.
I was holding on the edge for dear life there. You'll see the dragon tracks right below us though. Whoa, I almost, okay, there we go. The respawn is so fast, you like barely know what happens.
I'm counting 7 so far.
For TT? Really?
Yeah.
I've never actually sat down and watched him fall off every time, but yeah, that sounds about right.
Oh, there we go.
8.
Well,
He's
we're
so
gonna
good
lap
at his
him.
own game.
We're gonna lap him.
9. It's definitely gonna reach 10 by the time that you're done.
Probably right on, I was gonna say right on that turn, but no, it didn't work.
Ooh.
These turns,
Ooh.
I tell you what. You can get some drifts on these tracks, but depending on the layout, it might not really be helpful. Like, the way this track
Yeah.
is designed right now, that I am just not going to get the help I need from a drift, so I'm not going to go for it. Especially, like, look at this goofy design right here. Like, come on.
Can we fit one more in before you're done? Oh, it looks like he took that turn quite well. Yeah.
I
That's...
purposely drove up.
Unless... Oh no, he's gonna fall off one more time.
He fell off 10 times.
11! That was 11 in the
He's
end.
so good at driving. So we'll have to remember to get the sherbet one before we go into WizPick 1, but that's okay. Like, that happens. Like, not a big deal.
Windmill planes.
We got balloons to pop. I can't worry about no TT racing right now.
True.
Here's where the balloon challenges really become kind of ridiculous because these levels are longer and they spread out the balloons kind of far. So, sometimes you'll like pop a ton of balloons and you won't reach the threshold until like right before the end of the race. Or, I don't know if it's a race, I guess just a challenge, but... And we don't need to collect any more coins. I'm just kind of doing that for fun. We have nothing left to buy. We have fully upgraded plane and car, which are going to be our end game vehicles, so we're good on that.
Oh, Brandino, I do have to tell you, I was keeping track of TT. Somebody was keeping track of your fools as well.
Oh, what's the numbers?
It's
think
not
I
quite
had, like,
11.
4?
It's not quite 11, but it was 3.
Wait, me? 3?
Yeah, you had 3.
Okay, not bad. No, not bad at all. It's. I hate to give TT any credit, but it can fall off those pretty easily sometimes. Maybe not as easily as TT was doing, but once you start building up enough speed, veering around those corners and especially up those slopes can be dangerous.
These last few balloon touch challenges, now that we don't really have any coins left to get, we're just kind of, chilling. These last ones, they kind of let us appreciate how good this world looks visually. Like, this is one of the best looking worlds in the game.
Yeah, I love the design of this level is very unique and is one of the most memorable locations in the whole game. I love the haystacks and the windmills and the water road. Everything is great about this level. This level too, what's fun about it is that it's fun in all of the vehicles. Some levels are only fun in like one vehicle or two vehicles, but this one has great strats in all three. Like, it's really fun to do. All right, next up, Greenwood Village. Fortunately, we can't, or maybe fortunately, I suppose, we can't bonk on any walls this time around. There are a ton of... The balloons in this level are particularly hard to see against the background, because the background is really busy with a lot of things going on. So it's like really hard to tell where the balloons are sometimes, because they blend in so well with some of the background items, like the houses and their little details. Like, those two blend in pretty well with those windows there. It can be hard to remember they're there until you get too close. Yeah, and if you see, like, the bottom screen or the top screen or whatever it is, the balloon count is just so much higher to bronze in these ones. Because obviously we're in the later parts of the game, so things get harder. But, kind of ridiculous, honestly. These challenges are just ridiculous. And you thought we were going to go that way, but actually there's a secret tunnel. That is much slower if you're in the car. Okay, cool. We caught our bronze. Let's see if we can silver before the end of this. Okay, yeah, it looks like we're on pace to silver. Not bad. Missed 4.
Nice.
I just cannot imagine how awful it would be if I had to 100% those challenges. Like, it would require so much work on my end to even memorize where everything is.
Does not seem marathon safe in the slightest.
Not even close. Thank God in any percent we only have to get bronze. I'll just say that.
It is awful to get gold on all of them. It is so bad.
Yeah, Leah's speaking from experience, being one of the only people who's run the 100% category.
My condolences.
Because if you think about it, it's 50 balloons in each track across 20 tracks. That's 1,000 balloons you've got to know.
This level is nuts. They put so many balloons in this section that are just so easily missable. And they're all over. Like, you have to constantly be swiveling the camera here to keep grabbing balloons. Oh, we just missed another one. Again, I just couldn't imagine if I had to 100% these. The game would be so much worse. You don't even get anything good. I just want to say, like, nothing good happens from 100%ing them. It's just, you can say you 100%ed them.
You unlock, like,
just
no
a flex,
and that's it.
You get a pat on the back and a job well done.
You unlock, like,
really,
4 tracks.
Isn't that what we all need?
That's all you get.
You can actually hear the dynamic soundtrack here because I think, like Leah said earlier, it was made to absolute better with this version of the track as opposed to the race version.
Ah.
All right, one more balloon touch, and it's in Haunted Woods. And because Haunted Woods is such a short track, this is one of those ones where they just throw a million balloons right in front of you, and they're like, hey, get them all. Won't it be funny? Like, look at this. Oh, and turning around in balloon is a terrible idea. Because you can easily start missing more balloons by not seeing them directly in front of you if you turn around too far. And they love to put some, like, directly behind you. It's just awful.
Like, there's one just then that you'd have to turn around completely to get. And then you have to get all the other ones in that area and some might be fine.
Give me that coin. Okay, we made silver. I don't know how you gold this one. I really, truly do not understand how you gold this particular challenge.
You don't.
That's so true.
You just don't.
Alrighty. Our old friend Smokey wants to pay us a visit now that we've popped all the balloons. And just like last time, we're gonna just speed through this. Oh, no, don't drop the stylus. If anybody's wondering, yes, it does hurt my wrist to do plane propeller after a certain point. I'm sitting there spinning the touchscreen.
Yeah, I imagine posture isn't, ideal when it comes to the DS. As much as it is useful that, like, you can sort of practice on the go as you wish.
That's one of my
when it comes down
favorite
to
things about
sitting
running...
down and doing the runs.
one of my favorite things about running DS games is how simple it can be sometimes. Just open the game up and like play a level real fast. That's one of the reasons that I love Sonic Lost World and Sonic Generations 3DS so much is like, I just like, sometimes I'm bored and I'm like, oh, I'll pull up, run this level real fast and then close the game out. Or like I'm on my lunch break at work and I have some time to like pull up a level and play real fast while I'm eating. And like, that is an awesome benefit of running handheld games. There's a million downsides, but that's pretty cool. I'll tell you, one of the biggest detractors of running handheld games like this is just holding the console for like an hour or two. It really does get... That's why I love the balloon touch challenge in this game. I put the console down and I just gotta grab the stylus for a little bit. My hands heal. The world rights itself just for a little bit before we have to grab the controls again. Oh, one thing you might see me doing here, but I specifically make it so that when I use the blue boost, it's going to send me in like a perfect line forward. If you try to turn while boosting, you'll just smack into a wall. You really need to, it's because of WizPig's handling in plane is just so poor that when he is at a really high speed, it's like really hard to deal with. That's the boss amulet complete.
Yeah,
that's important to ending the game.
If you turn in plane while you're boosting, your turn gets really amplified and it can be hard to really steer yourself back into just steering straight forward.
All right, here we are. We got 4 races to get through in our trophy race, and then I need to go pick up that TT race that I missed, and we'll take a small break before heading into the end game. But we're getting close. We're getting there. And one of my favorite parts about the end game of Diddy Kong Racing is that a lot of people don't know it exists. And we'll explain what that means when we get to it, but multiple speedrunners of this game did not know about the space levels until they saw a speedrun and found out that the game had another set of tracks that they had never heard of. A lot of people have never played the end game of DKR because it's kind of well hidden. And Rareware also fakes you out with a credit sequence. That's one thing that they love to do in these older games. Banjo-Kazooie does it, Banjo-Tooie does it, DK64 does it, but they love a fake credit sequence to make you think that you beat the game before you actually go to the true ending of the game. Oh, Donkey Kong Country does it too. Fake credit sequence halfway through the K-Roll battle. They loved faking you out. They thought it was so funny. Getting that blue balloon there is actually kind of hard because maneuvering with WizPig in the way that you're hugging the wall but not bonking it is more difficult than it can seem. Oh no! I hit a fart cloud and then we crashed. That's what I call like the oil. The oil actually changes in plane to be like this like green gaseous cloud. I just like to call it a fart cloud that we slam into because I don't know what else you would call it. And if you saw Dixie Kong was laughing at us, she was the one who dropped it. We're gonna have beef for the rest of the game now, Dixie. Oh my god, that's my own! I hit my own! That's what I was saying earlier about like being strategic when you drop them. Sometimes I drop them absent-mindedly and then I smack into them later because I forgot I dropped it. Nice. Back to Greenwood Village we go. Hopefully we don't bonk on too many walls here, but we can only hope. Oh, Greenwood Village, I suppose I should mention it. You'll see like we pass by a well at a certain point in the level coming up. If you drop down, it's to the left of me here, that well. If you drop down there, there's like a secret path that takes you out of there to my left, but that's slower than the actual path that we already take. It looks like a shortcut, but I assure you, it is not faster and in fact loses you time from the drop down into the tunnel.
This is so sad.
It definitely fools many a casual player. It actually is faster in only one instance, and that is in the hover time trial for this level. Specifically with hover, it's only faster there, because there is a zipper at the end of it, and that lets you hold some more speed than you would otherwise be able to get. But yeah, otherwise it's just a trap.
Yeah. There's a couple of that in this game too, where there's spots where like they make you think that you're going like to the left of me here too is that secret tunnel we talked about before. that's not any faster, and if anything, is much harder to maneuver through. But because it's like off to the side there, I feel like I trick people into thinking that it's faster. Oh, beautiful drift. See if you can grab the blue balloon. Nice. You want to use that to offset some of the speed loss from going up this slope. But if you use it at the wrong time, you kind of become airborne, and that's not going to help you do this drift. Alright, last turn here. This one is so weird. I smacked into it twice already, this run. Alright. Oh, now that we're at the end of the level, we do not want to boost while drifting. Because the game doesn't send you in the direction that you're moving, it sends you in the direction that you're facing, which is different. So boosting while drifting kind of just makes things harder. The amount of times I've interrupted myself to blow into the mic is way too high today.
Entering now, we actually have the last time we're going to see hover in the run, so say goodbye, everyone.
My lungs thank this part for being the last hover. Got a cool double chain here. Oh, that was perfect.
Hover is like, having hovercrafts is quite neat. Like, I don't think we see enough of that in kart races. I
agree.
I think
the only thing I can think of is the boats in Sonic and All-Stars Racing Transformed, because that game also has 3 vehicles. You know, car, boat, and plane.
That's the only example I can think of. Granted, I am not very well versed in kart races, but yeah.
Yeah, you play Sonic Free Riders. It's a whole other world there.
Yeah, hovercrafts. I guess they are still hovering, but it's just simply not the same. But
first time I've fallen off this bridge in the time that I've been playing DS, but it does happen if you try to be fancy with the movement, which I was trying to hug that corner a little too tightly. But you can see there's the backup if you fall. Yeah, I should say too, one interesting thing about hover in this game, we already mentioned that hover is in every track actually, but the only hover races that we do in the game, like in terms of ILs, are the 3 hover-only tracks. This level, Whale Bay, and Pirate Lagoon, all are the only tracks where hover is the only vehicle. And actually, there are no other tracks in the game where like plane is the only vehicle or car is the only vehicle. Hover is the only one to have exact tracks just for it, which I think is an interesting thing. And the fact that hover is literally in every other stage as like an alternate vehicle is very interesting to me. It does make some level routes really interesting. Like in Crescent Island, the hover can go around to the ship instead of through it because hover can drive on the water, which is really unique to hover. So I think there's some really cool like alternate routes that you can take too. This game is quite deep. Like there's a lot to know. We mentioned that earlier, but yeah, with 3 vehicles, a ton of tracks, not to mention separate 3-lap and 1-lap time trials. Like there's so much to be good at.
Yeah, and like it was what I was saying earlier about the N64 version as well. You can't really be really good at everything in this game. Like there's always going to be someone who's better than you at one thing.
Yeah, and that's just how it goes. Like again, I think that's what it contributes to the community aspect of DKR, because everybody's a specialist kind of in their own way. Like we have people that are so good at playing, it makes people that are incredibly good at the RTA categories like mind blown. And it's the same thing. Oh, shout out! I want to give a shout out to Morks, who is a DKR runner from Quebec, who at one point was like the hover guy. He grinded a hover %, which is the all hover races category, for like months. That man once made his thumb bleed and got a PB. I just shout out, because on N64, you're using a plastic joystick and rotating it constantly. So just imagine what that does to the skin.
Ow.
I am not saying anybody should hurt themselves to play Diddy Kong Racing. I just want to shout out Mort for that incredible feat. Please do not do something like that. Not recommended.
Yeah, take care of yourselves.
Please, yes. Important part of speedrunning is also making sure that you can still function as a human.
Very true. Very true.
And that, with that said, Dragon Forest is done. And this signpost is a funny tool that'll help us later. But first, I gotta run over to Sherbet real quick. I forgot about that DD race there, so we're gonna go do that real fast. I thought Sherbet went by too quickly. Alright, and after we do the Sherbet TT race, we're gonna do a second break. So I'll let you guys know when that comes up, but that'll be soon here.
Awesome.
And then we get to go into the end game, where we have to enter the mouth and defeat Wizpig, as the game tells us to do. So there's this giant Wizpig head that's in the overworld. Oh, almost forgot. I thought I was coming out of Snowflake for some reason. Ooh. So yeah, we need to go to Sherbet real quick and grab that last TT race. So I was building up to the one in Dragon Forest. We didn't get to see it. But for the last TT race, we get to design the track ourselves. And here's what we do. Wait.
Wow.
Now, if you thought TT couldn't drive on the other tracks, he is never going to stay on this one. He cannot, like, this messes with his AI so much. The big circle. If you draw the most optimal circle in the world, you can actually do lap skips by jumping the center, but it's really hard. I've already driven off like 3 times. It's so goofy. Yeah, I was already at the final lap. Oh, we just shoved him off the edge.
Oh my gosh, that's brutal. How dare you?
And then Wizpig drives off. The AI cannot drive in a circle. All right. With the TT amulet complete, I think that'd be a good time for us to take another break. So I'm going to pause here and let that happen.
Well, thank you so much for what you've shown of this so far, everybody. We are going to be continuing the rest of this run not too long after a quick break. Once again, going to check our lung capacities. We're going to be checking how our joints are doing. We don't want to be cramped over our monitors for too long if we can help it. So if you have the means of doing so, take this as an opportunity to get hydrated, have a stretch. And yes, we will be back after a short break. But whilst we're here, we might as well just say hello if you're watching on YouTube. Be sure to press the like button on this video and subscribe to the channel. And I think you should catch these as they're going live. If you have the time, you can find us on twitch.tv/gamesdonequick, and you can join the hype. You can join the runs as they're happening, ask questions to the runner, and yeah, maybe get a little more insight than one might expect just from a YouTube video. But all of that can happen. We start these shows weeknights at 7 p.m. Eastern, and then weekends at 1 p.m. Eastern. But we're going to be having a quick break. Enjoy the jams whilst you can, and we will finish off DKR DS in a second. See you soon, folks. Okay, folks, good morning, evening, afternoon, wherever this hotfix finds you. Welcome back to Going Places. This is the show where we have a look at games from around the globe. I almost said around the bloke, not quite, but around the world, as well as games that we can take around the world on handheld consoles. We have been treated to a brilliant run of DKRDS so far with Brandino and some stellar commentary from Leah. Just a reminder that your contributions to the channel help these sorts of things happen. So your subs, Prime Gaming subs, gift subs, and bits cheered to this channel help support these things happening. And I thoroughly enjoy doing them, and judging from people's general responses, they're really enjoying what's been shown off today, Brandino. So if folks want to see more of this sort of thing, then please consider dropping whatever you can to help support this daily speedrunning content. But we're going to throw it back over to Brandino, who's going to be showing us the last little bit of DKRDS. Hello once again, Brandino.
Hello. I'm going to count us back in, and then we'll go straight there. All right, so
Cool.
in 3, 2, 1, let's go. So, the ending of this game, I mentioned it before. There's actually a lot of people that have never seen the ending to this game. Because we're going to race Wizpig here, and the game actually gives you credits after this. But what they don't tell you is that there's literally a whole last hub world that you can go to race Wizpig for good. This is one of the hardest races in the game right here. Despite us being one of the fastest car characters in a really souped up car, this race, if you fall behind, can be extremely rough. So the thing is that this race is, you are surrounded by water on all sides. If you look at the touchscreen, I'm doing my best to stay out of the water sections, But like the water, I mean, we've seen in the past that water destroys your vehicle's speed. So it can be really hard to catch up once you've done that. And you have to go through these, like the game, the boost doesn't carry as well through water. So even when you're boosting, you still kind of go slow through some of these. It's just awesome. And if you get behind Whizpig, another thing about this track is that it's quite thin. And Whizpig is a large bloke. So you can absolutely get stuck behind him, and getting around the bloke is really hard. Oh no!
Wow.
Okay, it's fine. That's not a bad place to fall into the water. You do not want to fall into the water earlier on because you just lose everything. That's okay though. That's a minor time loss there. Shout out to Mr. Ponytail, as we've mentioned, one of the best car players on N64, if not the best. He's one of the only people who's ever lapped Whizpig here on N64, which is a massive feat and takes quite a lot of precision, understanding, and in general, just some luck too. He's so good at car.
Yeah, the Whizpig race on
current
Nintendo
80% record holder.
64 is probably the most notorious race in the game. It's very evil. It's very hard to win casually. It's even hard to win speedrunning sometimes.
Yeah, like I said, I've fallen behind here before just by like a couple bad boosts or something, and even the good boosts still put you in the water. But we did it. So now there's going to be a cutscene that we're not going to watch. I just soft reset the DS, which again, if people don't know, on these original DSs, LR Select Start will soft reset your game without taking you to the DS menu. So we're going to use that to skip cutscenes. Oh, and we forgot to mention, but yes, Whizpig is in fact racing himself. Because we are Whizpig, and he is also Whizpig. Very strange how that works. Strange, isn't it?
We're the cooler Whizpig.
He might know everything that we're going to do, but that means we know everything he's going to do.
Strange.
All right. Whizpig has nowhere to hide, so of course we're going to turn our lighthouse into a rocket and go fight him in space. That's literally what's happening. And here we are in the end game that nobody knows about because the game doesn't tell you that you need to go honk at the sign to start it. Welcome to Future Funland. These are, without a doubt, the hardest tracks in the game, but some of the most fun. Oh, another fun thing about DS is that they added a whole extra world of races. So you don't see them in like the normal story mode, like they're not there. But they added 4 tracks that are centered around DK Island, like meant to be like Donkey Kong type tracks. And you can buy them from Taj in his tent. And those are 4 extra tracks that you get. And if you ever do an RTA All Races category, then those are included. Unfortunately, they're not in this category, so we won't see them. But they're really cool tracks. They're the most unique because they were the only ones made for DS. And this tunnel is a nightmare. It's really easy to bonk, especially because Whizpig's controlling in this particular vehicle is just less than stellar. N64 veterans will notice, but the song is different here. So this isn't a song that's been remixed, it's been moved. This song used to play in Spaceport Alpha, but what they've done is moved Spaceport Alpha's song over to here, gave Spaceport Alpha a new song, and this level used to share music with Star City. They gave Star City the song that played in both of them. So they shuffled around a lot, the music in this part of the game. But the song that's going to play in Spaceport Alpha legitimately is like probably my favorite song in the game. It's so good, and it's one of the new tracks. So I don't know if that's a good advertisement, but the new tracks are great. They're really well written, and they fit right into the N64 tracks without skipping a beat. And I think that's the best compliment I can give them. Because the N64 soundtrack is like unflappably good. Like you can't beat it.
Yeah, I can say the new Spaceport Alpha soundtrack is also probably my favorite in the game, as well as the track itself being my favorite track in the game across like all the ways you can play it with car, hopper, plane, time trials, in runs. It's so good.
Tiny Kong cursing our name. I think she ran into one of the oil slicks I dropped. Well, man, it sucks to run into somebody's oil slick, doesn't it, Tiny Kong?
Gillishy, to be honest.
Oh my god. I love this tunnel. It's so good. We're going to see another tunnel right at the end of the game that's also just as well designed to bonk into everything. Next up, Dark Moon Caverns, one of the best songs in the game, and one of the most difficult car tracks. Just so much can go wrong here. Enemies love to drop a lot of items, and this level is weirdly shaped with a lot of difficult drifts and boosts that you want to hit to go fast. Like this one. That's such a tight drift. You need to be able to get around that corner and grab that speed pad.
Yeah, and this track is made up of so many tiny slopes that can throw off your control. It is hard to even see them until you play the track. There are so many slopes here that make basic turns a lot harder than they should be.
This song is just so good, I won't lie. I love this song so much. This is like such a cool track. I should say too, the aesthetic of the space levels has this cool, like, kind of 1950s retro futurism type deal going on. I love it. Like, you know what I mean? Everything's like big and blocky and like kind of looks like a chunky rocket. I think it looks really cool. It's such a nice little aesthetic for the game and fits into the game's world so well, despite not looking like any of the other sections. In this part in N64, there used to be a laser that shot you repeatedly in the center of that big drift, and it was really hard to avoid, which they've removed. It's interesting, they've removed a lot of the track hazards from N64, but then have added others that are much worse. Because in Space Dust Alley, the level we were just in, you'll see there was like a section where I was boosting past a UFO that was shooting, but if you don't boost past it, that UFO can shoot you if you drive down the middle. It's kind of hard to avoid if you're trying to go fast. And in WizPig's final race, there is a UFO that is just the world's greatest sniper. You'll see it, but we're gonna have to do a lot to avoid getting shot by it. But they did take out the UFOs that shoot in here. It's a really weird mixture of getting rid of some obstacles and then adding a bunch of really hard ones. And, oh, yeah, I forgot to mention, this level has 2 loop-de-loops that move by quite slowly. But they're cool. Last time we saw a loop-de-loop was all the way back in Snowflake Mountain in Walrus Cove. Alright, that's Dark Moon Caverns. Next up is, like we said, Spaceport Alpha. This is an awesome plane track. It's really hard to do correctly, but it has a really sick remix song. And also, in general, like, if I can do it, it has some really cool boost chaining. Oh, enjoy the song, yeah. If you haven't heard it, it's really cool. Not a remix, I guess, because it's its own original song. It's just like a different song for this level. This part, I need to adjust the plane so that I dive into it a specific way, because otherwise you smack into the wall. It's really easy to smack into the wall there. We wanted to hit that zipper, but I slightly missed it. That's okay, it happens. Alright, another boost chain here. Ooh, that's not gonna work. One more. Yeah, ideally you can hit 3 boosts in that turn, but it is so hard to keep your angle while you're doing it because we are the worst controlling plane character in the universe.
Yeah, they actually added a ceiling over this track in the DS version. Not that it does anything, it's just... I guess it makes the track a little more realistic. But yeah, in N64, you're just in the open air, open to space. And also you find for that massive room we just flew through, there's a massive DS on the ground, which obviously was changed from a massive 64 on the ground.
Yeah, that's another thing Rareware love to do, is they put their logo in the console that they were making the game for on, like, everything. Because I remember in DK64, 2 collectibles that you need to complete the game are both a Rareware coin and a Nintendo 64 coin. And there's a literal, like, all of the bananas in Donkey Kong 64 have a little N64 sticker on them. Except for one, there's a special banana you get by collecting a certain amount of one collectible, and it has a Rareware stamp on it, so they loved their name. And of course, Conker's Bad Fur Day has a memorable scene at the beginning of the game, where the N64 logo gets cut up with a chainsaw by Conker, and he replaces it with the Rareware logo. So, they loved their logo. Oh, nice. Alright, next up is Star City, and they made this level laughably easier in DS, and you'll see why. On N64, there is this bridge section. You're going to see it after we clear this tunnel. Oh, this is also a really cool aesthetic level, in my opinion. This is one of the best looking levels in the game. There's this really cool rainbow tunnel. There's that monorail up there. There's the Epcot golf ball. Here's this lower route that was added in this version. In N64, you have to go drive up the bridge, and it's actually really hard because if you fall off the bridge, you got to get back onto it. In this version, they added a part under the bridge, and it's just way faster to take that, so that's what you do instead. So yeah, that's what I was saying about laughably easier. Like, it is so much easier to this level compared to N64 because you don't have to worry about the bridge at all. And this song, playing in this level, used to play in Space Dust Alley as well. But of course, in DS, they swapped a bunch of stuff around, so in this version, it just plays in Star City. And it's one of my favorite songs in the game. I think I've said that about every song in this except for the one in Space Dust Alley. But the section of the game just goes incredibly hard. Also incredibly hard. Oh my god! There were so many oil slicks! Dixie Kong, once again, too. She really has some beef. I don't know what it is. What did we do? Yeah, people who play in 64 are like tearing their hair out seeing us just boost over the bridge and go under it. It's so hard on N64 to do that quickly. But this city section is sick. I love the way it looks. I just had to do that. Take that tip top. That's what he gets for his RNG in Banjo-Kazooie.
I love it when you hit Tip Top with something. His eyes go red.
Tip Top loves to be a menace. I don't know what its problem is. All right.
It's not just me then. It's not just me that suffers from Tip Top.
All right. So here we are in our final balloon touch challenges of the run. Starting here by hitting this thing repeatedly because it's funny sounding. These ones are obviously because these tracks are longer. Like these ones have a lot more spread out balloons, and you end up meeting the threshold decently quickly, and you just get a nice moment to sit back and look at the track. Here's them being tricky. They put a bunch right here at the beginning, and then there's one in the middle, and then there's two on this side. I don't know how they expected children to be able to do some of these, man. I'll never get over how weirdly difficult these balloon challenges are for this game.
Gosh, and like it doesn't even stick. Like it would make sense, like if you kind of stuck to one course, but it's the constant like switching in and out, and you're like, oh.
Yeah, like where are the balloons in this one? Where are the balloons in this one? Are they behind this door? And
yeah, you suddenly like career off, and you're like, oh, where am I going now? Oh, okay, now I have to like completely acclimatize to a completely different like landscape almost.
Yeah, that happens a lot. Like they take you in parts of levels you're not even familiar with, and you have to like know where the balloon is. Like, see, I just missed two there. For those just joining, we only need bronze, but my lord, getting gold there is impossible. Dark Moon Caverns. Actually, this might be the only one I can get gold in if I play it right. This is the only one I've ever gotten gold in before. Let's see if we can do it. It's because this level, out of every level, has the most spread out balloons of them all. Like, they don't really put a ton in a small chunk of level, so it's a lot easier to space them out and, like, deal with. The hardest ones are the ones where there's, like, 60 balloons in a one giant open area, and you're supposed to get all of them. And it just races by. I think
and Brandino, like, we believe. Does chat believe? I believe that Brandino can get all of them.
You gotta get gold.
Leah, do you believe?
I believe.
We believe. Let's go.
When we get to the loops, we'll see it just takes so long to get through them.
Yeah, I always joke that loops are so slow that Sonic is jealous.
Mm-hmm.
Because notable feature of a lot of Sonic games is that loops are actually much slower than you realize because you spend a second just running in place. So it's faster to just jump over a loop or skip it when possible.
Got people in chat saying you got to go for gold, and I think I agree with the sentiment.
Okay, I think we're
Oh
good
my
here.
goodness. Yeah, these loops.
Whoa, it's like a roller coaster, but it never actually hits its peaks. You're just like, whoa,
My head's spinning.
my head's spinning. Another Sonic classic. Up there with Long Time No See.
Long time no see.
Long time no see, treasure hunter. Did you find my golden balloons? Okay, we got 2, 1. Yes, we got gold.
Hey.
The only track where it's feasible to get gold because the balloons are spaced out reasonably enough.
Didn't get all the coins though, reset.
Okay. No
Please
coins? Okay, bye. Alright, we get to hear this banger again just a little bit faster now. This, I would call this one of the hardest too, because there's one balloon right there. See that little alcove? That, we theorized that there was a TT style race or wish race in this that they took out, and that alcove would have held the key. I think it makes a lot of sense.
Oh, that's unkind.
Yes. In N64, I don't know if you mentioned this, but where the TT races are, you would normally do battle tracks where you like have to, you know, it's kind of like the balloons in Mario 64 or something where you like have to fight your enemies and win to a certain number of points, like eliminate them all from the race. Oh my god, these balloons. And it's like never worth it to turn around for a balloon usually, because then you're just wasting time for other balloons.
The battle tracks from N64 actually are still in the DS version, but you have to buy them from Taj's shop. And then
Yeah, and they're like multiplayer only. Yeah, they made a lot of strange changes. I think the Wish races were a cool replacement because I didn't necessarily like doing the battle tracks, but it is just a very big change up. Also, one thing I want to point out, since but I'm pretty sure that part of the level we were just in with the big trench is like directly based off of the final scene in Star Wars. I just wanted to point that out because they're clearly Star Wars fans that made this. Oh, the tiniest hitbox in the world, and we managed to grab it. They just put all the balloons out in the abyss over here. There's a cool out of bounds that's extremely hard in this track on N64 where you go below the level, like right there. You have to use a boost balloon to go below that track. It is one of the most precise out of bounds in 64. Can you even do it in time trials? I don't think so.
No, you can't do it in time trials, unfortunately. Well, maybe fortunately, because it'd be so hard, but yeah.
Unfortunately, Windmill Plains out of bounds is in time trials, and that's so hard. I mean, Leia just got the one lap record there, I think you know, but Windmill, a lot of the out of bounds is in N64. What makes them a little bit easier is that you usually chain a boost balloon into like a barrel roll and get out of bounds. But in time trials, you do not have boost balloons. You only have zippers. So you have to rely on zipper speed to take you through some of these out of bounds, and that's way harder because the zippers are in specific spots. You can't do it from wherever you want, and it's like a different setup entirely. Also, check out the cool city around us. You won't really get to see a lot of the scenery otherwise. This is what I say, this level is well designed. I think it's really cool looking.
Yeah, the out of bounds in this track in N64 could never happen in time trials, or at least currently we can't do it because there's no zipper by that area, and not only that, we need to stack up balloons and get like a level 2
they use
or
like at
3
least
boost
2.
to be able to do it.
Cool. That's the last of the balloons, guys. We popped them all.
Gotta pop them all.
All right. Before we go to WizPig, we got one more trophy race we got to deal with.
We are in the final 4 races before the end.
I just held my stylus upside down while I was trying to do that, which is why I did not get the full boost. Whoops. These things happen when you run DS games. So you'll see here, I mentioned it before, but I am using a boost balloon to get past this UFO here because otherwise I will get shot. It's just almost an inevitability if you drive too close to the center, which is why boosting through it stops it from hitting you really because you get past its point where it can target you. And there is a zipper here, and It is faster to hit it, but this is what happens when you're Whizpig. You just slam into the wall, because Whizpig's handling is amazing in plane. It's really impressive that Whizpig has such poor handling in plane, but is like his car is just so much faster because of it. Like, it's just such a weird catch-22. Like, you can't really maneuver in plane at all because the game fights you at every turn, but when you're in car, you are looser than spaghetti. Woo. See if we can not bonk into the wall this time. Another thing. Oh no! This turtle, man. He got me stuck. What is happening? I was just bouncing between those two walls. I've never seen that before. That's the silliest thing. First time we've ever gotten behind, but you'll see how much faster we are when we catch up, like, immediately. Diddy, why? Wow, I've never been relentlessly bullied like this on this track. Oh, and Bumper gets shot by the UFO anyway, so now we're ahead. I love those little character portraits that pop up. Like, if you're neck and neck with somebody, they'll do one where you and your the other character and your character are like side-eyeing each other, like, ooh, this is a fight.
Nice.
Adds a little more personality to the game. Oof, okay, despite the mess, we're out. Alright, Dork Moon Caverns. Man, part of me wants to grab coins just out of, like, muscle memory, but you really do not need to grab them by this point. But they're just, like, right in front of you. It's hard to not grab a collectible when it's there. This drift is really tough because, like I said before, if you hold one direction while drifting too long without changing your angle at all, you will spin out. And you're really in danger of spinning out there because we have to hold such a tight angle, it's hard to really readjust midway through. I just got rid of my last oil slick only to pick up another one. Oh, yep, that'll happen. That's why having the blue balloons is nice for backups in case you miss zippers. But zipper speed is way faster if you can hit it. Oh, I dropped that one too. That's my fault. I forgot it was there. And I said this earlier, but I'll say it again because it's been a while, but the reason that I have to drop oil slicks is because the game will not overwrite another type of balloon with another. So I can't pick up an oil slick balloon, keep it, and then grab a blue balloon without using the oil slick. I have to drop the oil slick, and that of course means that I just create an obstacle for myself. So there's two schools of thought. You can either drop the oil slick in a way where you think that a comb will hit it, or you drop the oil slick out of the way so that you won't hit it. And, you know, typically you kind of want to go for the one where a computer will hit it, but that's obviously a lot harder to time because you are so much faster than them and so far ahead that you have no idea what part of the track they're on. So you can go ahead and drop it, but it might not guarantee that it actually works. It's a mess. It is a lot to think about when you grab oil balloons.
The only other option is to press Y when you're like doing nothing, because pressing Y will automatically cancel the item. But it's really awkward to do if you're holding A all the time.
Especially when you're drifting. Alright. Spaceport Alpha next. Enjoy the banger one last time. See if we can get the good dive. Nope, I'm smacking it. Oh, wow, never mind. Despite hitting that other wall, that was really good for the dive. Like, you don't want to hit the wall in front of you, not the one on the side. Let's see if we can get the chain here. Okay, we missed the boost balloon. Getting a triple there is really hard with WizPig. Ooh, but we got this one beautifully. That one is way harder to get because, again, WizPig just can't turn in planes, so you kind of have to approach that with the perfect angle to not hit a wall. And that's a lot of trial and error. Alright, excellent maneuvering through that tunnel. It can't overstate how hard it is to not hit the wall there. Okay, cool, we got the blue balloon this time. Oh no! This is the section I was talking about. It's clearly based on the trench run from Star Wars. Alright, this has been pretty good. Let's see if we can thread the needle here in lap 3. Oh, we just barely didn't bonk. Oh my god, that blue balloon I've missed it every time. Alright, we got the triple that time, actually. Oh, how did we... What? And then we hit that one, like, when we're, like, 3 feet to the left? Whatever. I don't understand boosts in this game sometimes. Okay, so we're almost to the end of the game, guys. We have one more race, and then we fight WizPig as WizPig, so that WizPig can win. And luckily, our last race is Star City, which is, I think, it's a shorter race, and especially in this version of the game, is not a level that I worry about too much. So I don't think too much can go catastrophically wrong here, but of course, by saying that out loud, I will in fact have a crash and burn at some point. I have just seeded my real-life RNG.
There are a lot of places here where, like, the CPUs can easily, like, trap you, and you don't have any room to move out of the way, especially in the city section. You've got to make those 90-degree turns, and yeah, not a whole lot you can do.
And if everybody just saw, Timber just ran into our mine, so that's really good. That means we don't have to worry about it. But it could mean that there's a ton of oil slicks on the road from other racers, because this section gets so... Like, they litter the ground with crap. Don't litter. Especially not in space. Oh, Diddy's got a shield. Okay, we're good. If we would have touched Diddy while he had the shield, we would have spun out. The shield is really great to have, but really awful to have computers have, if that makes sense. Like, it's a great item for us, but if they have it, it makes everything worse if we're right behind them. Ooh! I didn't even see that oil slick until it was almost too late. Oh, I was trying to hit Tiny Kong there as revenge for when she hit me earlier. Oh, what's up, Timber? See ya, Timber. And that's Star City. Alright, guys. All we have left is WizPig.
We're almost there.
Almost there. But we have one of the hardest races in the game to close us out. I was talking earlier about UFOs that have an unbelievable power to snipe, and it's specifically the ones in WizPig that are the biggest and most problematic ones. Okay, and another thing is I have to hold left while doing the start boost here. Like, I have to. Otherwise, you slam straight in the WizPig, and then you get hurt.
Sorry, left-handed people.
We need this blue balloon here. Okay, so there's a section coming up. There is no floor here, and we need to get into a tunnel that's quite high on a hill. And there's a UFO that is a trained sniper. This one. We need to get past him. Okay, we're good. He shot us, but we were just high enough into the tunnel that we fell into the tunnel. That's fine. It is almost impossible to not get hit there unless you're moving at a really good speed or just got lucky. So we want to position ourselves in such a way that when it hits us, we fall into the tunnel. So that's basically what you want if you... like, that's the second best to not getting shot at all. But not getting shot at all is... I don't know. I almost think it's random. but we're going to use a double balloon here because that's actually going to help us. I mentioned earlier that you go slightly farther with a double balloon than you do a single balloon, so that'll actually help our ability to get to the tunnel faster. All right. Here we are on lap. There's a cool out of bounds in this level on N64, but unfortunately we don't have that. I think, is there a TAS out of bounds here? I'm not sure.
No, we've tried to find one in this track, but we can't, unfortunately. There's just nowhere where you can drive slowly off a cliff and then have your plane flipped and then do the thing and then get out of bounds. There's nowhere we can do that here yet.
It might look easy, but this tunnel, after we get past the UFO, is one of the hardest driving sections in the entire game. Like, getting through that tunnel without smacking into a wall at least once, or smacking into any of those electricity things which do cause you to spin out, is really, truly very difficult. And if you look at the bottom screen, Wizpig is not far behind us. If I make one big mistake, it's Ogre.
Almost there.
Oh, wait, oh, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. We did it.
I shouldn't have spoken too soon.
That was an incredible recovery. Usually bonking there is like the end. Oh, we're gonna make it. Okay, time's gonna be coming up here soon. Time's coming up as soon as we cross the finish line, which should be in just about time. GG's.
Boom.
GG. Nicely
That made me nervous right at the
done.
very end.
Yeah. Hey, you pulled 3. You pulled 3. You didn't have to redo it, which is fortunate. You the final time that we got on our end was a 2:42.32.
Just barely underestimate. We did it. The island is safe once more, guys. We did it. We saved Timber's Island. Now you get to see a really truncated ending sequence. In N64, there's this whole fun sequence where all the characters and bosses are interacting and having fun. And in this version, they show you a little bit of that, and then they're like, you did it! And then the game's just over. I think definitely there are some time constraints that they were under when they were designing this game.
So do you all remember N64 Jungle Falls? Here you go.
Yes, this is the Jungle Falls N64 song.
It took us 2.5 hours to get here, but it was worth it, right?
At least it made an appearance.
At least they put it in at all.
Very
man.
true.
But
Very
yeah,
true.
I am so happy to have been able to run this today. This game is really enjoyable, despite some of the silliness of the DS port. And for those of you out there that think like, hey, maybe I could do that, I just want to say that you do not need a DS capture card to run this game. Leah has not had a DS capture card in her entire career of running this game and has both the any % world record and nearly every time trial world record that's been recorded on a potato cam. So I just want to say you do not need a capture card to run these games. I understand the reasoning that people would like a capture card to run them, but you don't. And quite frankly, I'm always impressed by people that will run them regardless, even without the capture card, because I think that's the real dedication, is like, you don't need the fancy footage. You just want to run the game. Anybody who wants to run this game, we have a Discord for both 64 and DS where all the runners love to mingle and interact. And if you ever want to submit to what's on my shirt here, dkr64.com, you might find yourself in one of our weekly news updates talking about your accomplishments and complimenting you on whatever you've done. So think about that. That'd be really cool to have some more time trialers out there. Time trials is far from figured out in either game. We still have a lot of ways to go before those time trials reach their final goals. So you guys should play this game, is all I'm going to say.
Solid stuff. Well, I was about to say, do your shout outs, but looks like Brandino's fairly comprehensively done his stuff. Leah, is there anyone else or anywhere else that you'd like to give a mention to?
I'd like to, for DKRDS specifically, I'd like to shout out Taychuk, who is a DS tasser, but he's most known for Yoshi's Island DS. He has found a lot of the out-of-bounds in this game, and he also held a few time trial world records with them, and a lot of this is possible because of him, especially because he was one of the first people to play the game in the 2021 resurgence, as we'll call it. And within the wider DKR community, I'd like to shout out Tarzan the Great and Mr. Ponytail for being some of my closest friends and helping me get to this point.
Yeah, all right, wait, let me see. If I want to shout out some names here for DKR runners. Shout out to Daler Ben, shout out to Mork, shout out to Trident Tail, shout out to Sweener Dog, shout out to Abaya, shout out to Mrs. Gizama Luke, shout out to Ponytail, shout out to Tarzan, shout out to Allens or Fourlands, I'm not sure which. Shout out to Leah, shout out to Kachuk. You got any other runners you can think of? I hope I didn't miss anybody, but I definitely did, and I'm sorry.
Shout out to Kavess and Asbo as well.
Oh, yes, Kavess and Asbo. Oh, shout out to Joey. Shout out to Peegs. I just love the DKR community so much. Even when I'm not running the game, they are some of the most fun people ever to interact with, or even just share when you're going bowling. They really love bowling in that community. They are some of the people that have really inspired me to continue speedrunning. And especially I want to shout out to Giz, who was such an awesome guy to me during the time that I was learning the game. Giz is like this game's dad in a way. It feels like sometimes like he's been around in the community forever. He's always there to help new people. And he's just a friendly guy. I love Giz. And I want to give a shout out. I got some friends that are watching me at home at a watch party. So shout out to all my coworkers / friends groups down here in Virginia. Thank you guys for the support. I had some friends telling me they're going to organize a watch party over at their house.
Nice.
So I'm sure I was on the big screen for far too long. Yeah,
Awesome.
that's all I got, man. Thank you so much for having us. This has been a blast.
Well, thank you so much for offering this. I saw you submit it, and I was just like, yeah, I think this would go down nicely, and I think chat have thoroughly enjoyed it. But folks, that is it for Going Places this weekend. But I have been doing a complete disservice because it ain't over after this. Going Places might be stopping. Well, might be stopping for today at least. But following this, we are actually going to be having a Crash special, a Crash Bandicoot 4 special. We're going to be seeing Kangaroo Power going through all clear gems. Now, I don't know what that means, but that is a 3-hour category, which I'm sure will be filled with a lot of goodness. It seems like Brandino's got some...
I was just going to say, Crash 4 is one of the hardest games I've ever seen of a recent era, so I would love to see how they're going to tackle that, because I watched Speedruns evolve with that a little bit when it first came out, and even the speedrunners were like, what is happening?
Well, there you go. If you needed a recommendation, Brandino has just given it. So, folks, please do stick around, but that has been it from Going Places. Do keep an eye on the Games Done Quick hotfix or website, because... some schedules might be changing for different shows, and yes, we might be seeing some new shows soon. Keep your eyes open for what's going to be happening on the Games Done Quick channel. But in the meantime, have a lovely rest of your week and enjoy some Crash Bandicoot 4 after this break.
Thank you, everyone.